101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it is here. You know what I need to do, kids? First thing I need to do is turn down my
YouTube.
See, I got to get used to this again. I gotta get used to this
you were
working
gone
again.
for a week, and what happened?
I know. I turned up my speaker on my computer. It's 7 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. How we doing, kids? Did you? Well, the place didn't burn down, which I'm happy about. Usually,
okay, yes.
Yeah, the kids will throw parties and the place will burn down sometimes when the parent leaves.
Yeah, no, we were able to keep it alive for a little bit. We did miss you on a very important weather alert day, second alert weather day. Dan and I tried to take it over. We, of course, could not take the chopper up because you are the lead pilot.
I'm the
for
only one who knows
chopper.
how to start that thing.
Yes, exactly. But we had a tornado watch versus warning. Rock had to explain to us, because I am not a weather savant, if you will. Rock had to explain to us the taco theory, which is this something that you've heard to help explain tornado watch versus warning?
I have not heard this.
But it actually helped a lot. So, Rock, if you do not mind sharing so that we could all remember this.
Yes, a tornado watch, a.k.a. or a taco watch, is you have all the ingredients for your taco. You got your tortillas, you got your pico de gallo, you got your protein. You're ready to go here. A tornado warning or a taco warning is there's a taco right here. It's right in front of you. There's a taco. It's been put together, and you now see a taco.
Okay.
So there's the difference.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Tempe needs to get a hold of this theory.
A graphic to show this. I think it would be very, very helpful, because we were a little lost, Randy, on the day of trying to explain it.
I wish I would have been here. I know you were all scared for things.
We were absolutely terrified. But how was Arizona? Because that's what I want to know.
Arizona's magnificent. I can live in Arizona.
Any taco tornadoes there?
No, it was absolutely perfect. The weather was ideal when I was in Arizona, as it was for most of the time that you were there, too.
Yes, it was. Except for the first day. It did rain. But other than that, it was perfect down there.
Yeah, I love everything about Arizona. It's just a really awesome place.
No, we had Greg Amsinger on, and he said that he hooked you up with some really good tickets. So what did you see?
So I saw a lot of baseball, and on the day that Greg set us up with Giants-Dodgers tickets, Tyler Glasnow, who's going to pitch against the Cardinals in their opener, threw 5 1/3 no-hit innings against the Giants, and Shohei hit a 2-run homer. So I've got a selfie with Patrick and I of Shohei crossing home plate after his home run. The Dodgers are going to win the National League. That's just what's going to happen if they're healthy.
Baseball over there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good. But, it's checkbook baseball that's working, apparently. Saw all of the Central teams in Arizona. Brewers don't look good. Reds are, Cubs look really good, sharp. And then the Pirates and Cardinals, obviously, in Florida. But Craig Counsell has the Cubs playing some pretty clean baseball over there. And Pat Murphy does not have the Brewers playing very clean baseball.
Really?
And the Reds, the day I saw them, they didn't have De La Cruz playing, and it wasn't their team. But from everything that I'm able to glean about the Reds so far in spring training, you don't believe March, but they have not been great yet. But we have a long ways to go.
Ooh, I like your spring training report on the Cactus League. Thank you very much.
The Cactus League is great. We're going to talk to Chris Kerber today. We're also going to talk to Derrick Goold, our friend who covers the Cardinals for STLToday.com and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And Kelly Chase is going to join us in studio as well. And we're going to talk about Puck, P-U-C-K, Puck Cancer Night that the Blues have coming up. That'll be fun.
It'll be great having Chaser in studio. Just seeing him going to a lot of the recent games. I know that he's been out and about as he's fighting this battle right now. But I think it's just so great to see him going out there, all the fan support that he's getting, and he's continuing to raise awareness for this, not only for himself, but others.
Right. And so we'll have Chaser in studio at 9:30. All right. Let's hit on what happened during the weekend. Number one, I sent you guys a text on Saturday night, and it was only half joking. But do you think that a defender on every MLS team should be given a taser for a guy on the opposition that's really fast?
I feel like there might be something illegal about that, Randy.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting to watch.
It's not legal if you put it in the rule book.
Oh, there you go. There's workarounds.
The NHL
always
allows fighting.
That's true.
It's not. Like, we just let that happen. We don't talk about how crazy that is. Honestly, a taser's not that big of a jump.
No. And I'll tell you what, your St. Louis City SC, they had trouble defending the fast guy for LAFC, but they came away with a 3-3 draw. And the tying goal, the equalizer, as they call it, was tallied in extra time. Maybe that's another thing we should eliminate. Let's have a clock where we know what the time is, okay?
Where we know the accurate time? Is that your issue?
We're watching the Blues the last couple of nights. Clock is ticking down to 0. We know when the game ends. Doesn't that seem reasonable?
Well, it's a little different for soccer. I don't know. I don't know if I quite have a rebuttal, but it is what you do in soccer.
Matthew?
The rebuttal is, I don't know, we've been doing it for 100 freaking years. They also count the clock the other way. And I don't know.
It's what they do. And it
seems anachronistic.
So now for soccer, you want a taser for the defenders, and you want the time to end exactly as it should.
It would have helped FC the other night.
Well, it would have.
Yeah.
This is hard to fight against. This really is.
Do you think it would drastically change the sport if instead of having extra time at the very end of the game, they would stop and start the clock when they actually had stoppages?
That would help. Yeah, let's do it that way. I like that. And then we might not have guys laying around the field as much either.
Oh.
And then if you have stoppages in the middle of the game, then the corporate entities are going to be like, then why can't I put an ad there? And now you've really got a problem.
No, I don't think so. I think this is good. I think you're thinking. I think we're moving ahead here.
The point of the sport is you don't have a bunch of ad breaks.
Do we have Joey's call, by the way? Can we please hear that, Randy?
Oh, let's hear it, yeah.
This is Delgado playing one over the top, skips to the end line from the corner, Paintsill, centers. Oh! Roman Berkey! Stones Joveljic! Paddles one away! Oh, Roman Berkey! Altering that shot like it's a Kate Middleton Mother's Day photo.
And Paintsill was the fast guy for LAFC. He was great. He can fly. And Roman Berkey was unbelievable on Saturday.
Yes, absolutely unbelievable. But what a great call by Joey there.
That was fantastic.
I laughed. That was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
What a good call there. Because if you haven't been following, we did discuss this a little bit, Randy, last week about Kate Middleton, the whole scandal. And for him to play into that recent news, it was just chef's kiss. It was perfect.
Yeah, so quick, to come up with that like that right off the bat, that was just amazing.
Rock is about to spit out his water.
Yeah, and by the way, the
cadence of your voice seemed to change a little bit when you were saying that last point, Randy.
The guy on Apple said it was the best save in the history of MLS.
That might be a little bit recency bias, maybe a little bit in the moment.
Might be. But congratulations to St. Louis City SC. They come away with a 3-3 draw against LAFC. City sits tied at fourth in the West with 6 points, 1 W, 3 D, and 0 L's.
That's what matters right there.
Right
the
there.
0 L's.
And they host DC United next Saturday. Blues with a victory over the Minnesota Wild on Saturday over at Enterprise Center. Jordan Kyrou with a goal and an assist. And then last night, they win the back-to-back 4-2 over the Ducks. A really good performance over the course of the weekend by the Blues. I think we have to be happy, reasonably happy with what happened, especially because the Blues fell behind after a period, and their record when not scoring first is not great. Troy Terry scoring for Anaheim 13:41 into the game. And then at the 14:56 mark of the second, Kevin Hayes provided the equalizer for St. Louis. 1-1 heading into the third. And at the 1:53 mark, our guy came through.
Shen for Falk. Backhands to Thomas. Shoot, score! What a shot by Robert Thomas with Jake Neighbors in front. He screened the goalie, and Robert Thomas pointed right at Jake after he scored the goal. 18:07 to go in the third. Power play goal for the Blues. 2-1 lead.
Bobby Tommy. How about that?
Robert Thomas. Opening drive bump. I fully believe that maybe we have a little bit to do with this, or I don't know, maybe it's his progression. I don't know. But maybe we have a little bit to do with this.
Yeah, I think
Either
so.
way, he deserves a lot of credit for everything that he's done this season. He is really... The reason when you look at these contracts, you say he 100% deserves it. He has put in the work during the offseason. He continues to grow and grow as a player every single year. What else can you say about him at this point?
No, he's been magnificent. He's the Blues' best player right now. That was on the power play after the Blues had gone 0 for 3 on the power play in the first two periods. Jake Neighbors tallying at the 6:12 mark, and then at 9:33 with the Blues in a man advantage again.
Justin Falk to the high slot. Bumpered off of Butch Nebich. Back to Thomas. Thomas moves it in. Shoot, score! Robert Thomas! Thomas. Third consecutive power play goal for the Blues. It's a 4-1 lead. 10:27 to go, third period.
Troy Terry scoring late for Anaheim. Blues win it by a score of 4-2, and they are now again close to a wild card spot in the Central Division. And they play in the Western Conference. They play the Avalanche tomorrow. I think that'll be more of a reality check, unfortunately, for us.
Oh, Randy, no, don't say that.
You don't like reality
We're all
checks?
aboard the hype train right now. First off, the Blues are coming back in this one. You said 4 points back of the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Okay, for the final playoff spot.
Well, what do you think?
I'm all aboard. I'm all aboard this hype train right now for the Blues.
Okay, I like this.
But you want a reality check with the Avalanche. I do understand the Avs are very good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I do understand that, but I'm very excited with what I see. Also, I think the continued emergence of Jake Neighbors has been so exciting. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite players, if not one of my favorite players currently right now for the Blues, because even if you look at those power play goals, who was right there in front of the net?
Yeah, net front presence, right?
That's what he continues to bring. And I don't doubt that Craig Berube tried to get these players to buy into that, but for whatever reason, now it is clicking. It's working for them under Drew Bannister, where you are seeing more of that net front presence, including Kevin Hayes' goal. Where was he?
Right in front of the net.
Exactly. So I think that's something that you're seeing under Drew Bannister for whatever reason. I don't doubt that Craig Berube was also pushing that, but they're buying into it now more under Drew Bannister. And Jake Neighbors, he has no problem with parking right there in front of the net, and I love everything that he's doing right now.
And so the Blues win it, and as Brooke mentioned, when you look at the National Hockey League's Western Conference wild card race right now, Vegas with 79 points, the Blues with 75. Blues and Avalanche tomorrow at Enterprise Center. A couple of other notes for you. The Cardinals are off today. They beat Houston yesterday 10-6 and will play their regular season opener a week from Thursday already.
God, it's flown by,
It
Randy.
has, yeah.
You're right. I was like, wait a minute. We're really about to start the season, aren't we?
It's amazing. Miles Michaelis will start the season opener for the Cards. And yesterday, golf at the Players, Wyndham Clark lipped out a tying putt on the 72nd hole and allowed Scotty Scheffler to win by a stroke. So that's where golf is right now. A little bit more on that later. Prayers also this morning to the entire Incarnate Word family. Their head coach, Dan Rolfes, suffered a medical emergency after the state semifinal win on Friday night. With him in intensive care on Saturday, the Red Knights defeated Springfield Kickapoo 53-43. So our prayers and best wishes to the entire Incarnate Word family. A very scary situation. And he is in the hospital in Columbia, and hopefully he'll be just fine. But just prayers for everybody. And one note, by the way, his daughter Kate, who drove him to the hospital on Friday night and would have been the first Incarnate Word player to be a four-time champ if COVID didn't eliminate her final season. She was on the bench to represent Dan Rolfes. And that uplifted the girls and the four assistant coaches. She was in the locker room before the game, on the bench during the game, and then helped to collect the championship medal for her dad and take it back to the hospital for him.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to continue to pray for him. It was good to see at least the update from Steve Overby last night on Twitter that he is in the hospital. It seems to be something that he is at least going to be able to recover from. And while they played without him, Randy, they played for him in that game.
Yeah, it was a highly emotional weekend for Incarnate Word. And we should note that St. Louis University, according to our buddy Stu Durand over at STLToday.com, SLU had discussions with Indiana State head coach Josh Schertz about the job that opened last week when Travis Ford was fired by St. Louis U. All right, we're off and running here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, 3 things we loved about the weekend with Brooke, Matthew, and Randy on 101 ESPN. All right, time for 3 things we loved about the weekend here on the opening drive. Brooke, Randy, Matthew with you. What do you got, Brooke?
Number 3.
Well, mine's going to have to be the Blues winning 4 straight, including 2 tough back-to-backs for them. Jake Neighbors, as we mentioned earlier, his ability, his net front presence is just really exciting to see. I like what the Blues are doing right now, and Jordan Bennington has been a big part of the story, and it feels like he's been dragging them into the playoffs, and it feels like you're getting more buy-in, more and more so from the players.
That's my number 3 also. I really appreciate, and I guess it makes him look bad, but the effort, the obvious effort, playing a complete 60-minute game on Saturday and playing with some solid effort last night. Why don't we see that more often? I don't expect it 82 games. I just wonder why we don't see more consistent effort by the Blues. John Kelly has made the point that this is the most inconsistent hockey team he's ever seen. It's the most inconsistent sports team I've ever seen in my life.
I have no idea what it is, because one minute they look fully capable of making it to the playoffs, and then the next minute you're like, who is this group?
Yeah. Did you see, by the way, Jamie Rivers during the game interview with Drew Bannister last night? And Drew Bannister was just beside himself. Yeah, there's no urgency, there's no effort. And he said we got to pick it up, and then they did in the third period. I don't know why it has to happen at times, but it really is a weirdly inconsistent group. But what did I enjoy? Yeah, I'm with you. I enjoyed seeing the effort over the course of the weekend and hanging in there in that wild card race, even though they're probably not going to make it.
Randy, why do you have to do a reality check at the end?
I hate reality checks. Yeah,
let's just enjoy the moment. Let's enjoy this wild ride to wherever it's taking us.
We'll do it.
Put that on a T-shirt. My number 2.
Number 2.
Is going to be probably the quote of the weekend, coming from your opening day starter, Miles Michaelis. I don't know if you guys saw this. I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier in our first segment about checkbook baseball, which is the Dodgers, or as you like to say, Randy,
Doyers?
The Doyers.
Yep.
And so Miles Michaelis, when asked about being the opening day starter, he delivered with this line. He said about facing the Dodgers, we're not exactly a low payroll team, but you got the Dodgers playing checkbook baseball. We're going to be the hardest working group of Midwestern farmers we can be. It would be great to stick it to the Dodgers.
I'm sure it would be. But the fact is the Dodgers are playing checkbook baseball.
They are. And that is a pretty nice checkbook they have over there. But I like that Miles Michaelis likes to purposely kind of agitate people a little bit. There's 2 things that Michaelis is good at outside of pitching. I would say that he is a great dresser. He likes to dress for the occasion, especially for road trips. And he also is great at giving you a good quote. And he is being sarcastic more than half the time, but he also likes to rile people up.
Yeah, and he did pitch well as he prepares for the opener. He earned that opening day start. My number 2, Brooke, is Aaron Donald retiring on Friday, and right at the top of his announcement, thanking the people and the fans of St. Louis for his first 2 years in the league. He didn't have to do that. He played 8 years in L.A. after he left St. Louis, but remembered the place where he started his Hall of Fame NFL career, remembered our fans, and like many in his organization, or the organization that leads his, the Rams and the NFL, hasn't forgotten where it all started for him. And I thought that was really cool that he did not forget us.
He's a class act, and he showed it with that statement that he put out there. That's how you know what a fantastic player. That's going to be a huge loss for the Rams, but for him to remember the St. Louis portion of it, he's a class act.
Yeah, and you know what I thought of?
What?
Jeff Fisher wouldn't start him for his first 5 games in the NFL.
Are you serious?
He wouldn't start him for his first 5 games. It's unbelievable.
Oh, man. Jeff Fisher.
Oh, what a piece of work.
Number 1.
My number 1 is going to be shouting out all the local teams who won their state titles. I know that some won on Thursday, so I just want to give them their credit. So John Burroughs girls, they were able to win. Lift for Life girls, DeSmet boys won, I believe, this past Thursday. And then
Frank
you had...
Cusimano loved that.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah,
no
he
way.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see him post on social media about
he wouldn't
that.
do that about DeSmet.
No, would he? Yes, he would. Cardinal Ritter, Vashon, and then, of course, as you mentioned earlier in the segment, Incarnate Word, it was a very difficult weekend for them, but that was their 131st consecutive win and their 7th consecutive state title, and they did it without their coach, Dan Rothfuss, but it's really hard what happened to him this past weekend, but they did it without him, and they did it for him. That was a big part. Steve Overby over at the Post-Dispatch, who covers high school sports really well, has a great article about it right now.
That's fantastic, and you should check that out. Brooke, my number one is at golf's Players Championship. Down the stretch, you had 3 majors winners and the current best player to not win a major roaring down the stretch. Scotty Scheffler, the number 1 player in the world, was brilliant in the final round. And then Xander Schauffele, Brian Harmon, and most dramatically, Wyndham Clark, whose putt lipped out at the end on his final hole, all had the chance to tie it with a birdie on their final hole. The PGA Tour's brand names were back as opposed to the struggles that they endured early in the season, and it made the sport exciting again. To see 4 guys that you actually knew coming down the stretch with a chance to win the tournament was pretty cool, and kind of stave off a little bit of the star power that Liv has taken away from the PGA Tour. This was legitimate, and these were great golfers playing great golf.
I am so ready for all this stuff to be done. I don't know if it will ever be done, but I hope that for one day we will have a merger just so you could have all the star power together. I'm tired of the drama outside of it, just so we can get back to focusing on big moments like this past weekend where it is just about the golf and you don't have the looming of whatever is going on with the Liv and the comments about Liv, all that different stuff hanging over all of golf right now.
You'll be happy to know that PGA Tour players have a meeting today with the Saudi leader that backs Liv Golf. So maybe we will get something out of the meeting today. Yasir Al-Rumayyan, the governor of the Public Investment Fund, wants to be productive in golf. So he's going to meet with Rory McIlroy and several other PGA players.
Well, I would also like to be productive.
I'd like to be in that meeting.
To hear what they have to say,
Yeah.
Or fire something back at
Or
them.
just say, can I have 1% of your $700 billion?
Just 1%. Hey.
You have 99% left.
Yeah. Also, how did you feel about the TV coverage? Because a lot of people were talking about this past weekend is that it looked improved.
I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. I don't know why it would look improved, but I thought the TV coverage was terrific.
Well, they've been working on this new, I guess, kind of bigger system for their TV coverage. I was reading an article about it last week about how they basically have this compound that they're improving where they're making sure they can have better coverage of the PGA Tour.
Well, it's done right, and it was especially done right on the back nine yesterday with all the drama that was ensuing.
All the shots.
All the shots. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up on Friday, the Cardinals announced a contract extension for Oli Marmol. What did you think? And later on, we do want to hear from you with the mic drop feature on the 101 ESPN app. We're going to take your texts as well. But Brooke and I will tell you what we think next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's Randy, and this message is for you home sellers. If you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted agent, take it from me and get to know Gloria Liu with your home sold guaranteed realty. Here's why. Because Gloria's name is her promise. Your home sold guaranteed realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. Gloria has solutions for you, and in fact, for every type of home seller. For sellers who want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria has multiple cash offers, a program that is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer to choose from in minutes from Gloria Liu. All you need to do if you're considering selling your home is give her a call at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. If you're even considering selling your home, there's only one person to talk to, and that's Gloria Liu at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
And so we had a lot, but
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Johnny Londoff and JohnnyLondoffChevrolet.com. This is your Sports Center update. The St. Louis City SC over the weekend with another draw. They now have one win and 3 draws on the season, a 3-3 draw facing off against LA Galaxy over the weekend. It was also the Blues with a big couple wins over the weekend. 3-2 over the Minnesota Wild on Saturday, 4-2 over the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday. They will be off tonight before they continue their home run on Tuesday before they face off against the Avalanche. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and JohnnyLondoffChevrolet.com. Are you kidding me?
Up for a spring training report on 101 ESPN.
Presented by E&P Granite, Brooke, Jamie, Kerbs, and Bernie Federko's choice for countertops and cabinets.
The Cardinals announced on Friday afternoon that they have given Oli Marmol a 2-year contract extension. Marmol, the first Cardinal manager since 1916 to have a 90-loss season and then come back the next year. The optics overall, Brooke, are not good, I don't think, but then I put some thought into it, and you don't want a manager, whatever organization you are, however good or bad you are, It's not a good thing to have a manager in a lame duck year. And for better or worse, Oli Marmol is their manager. Did win 93 games in his first year and then lost 91 last year. But whoever the manager is, or coach in sports, it's not a good thing to start a year if you're planning on winning with having a person whose contract is about to expire, because there are always going to be players who say, hey, that guy's not going to be around next year. I don't care. I'm not going to play for him. You like for every player to be a self-starter, but you like to have, in my opinion, your coach or manager at least have a little bit of oomph where he can say, okay, management is behind me in this endeavor.
Of course you would want that. But when was this decided, Randy?
Mo said it in the middle of the week, Wednesday.
Okay. And when did the season end for the Cardinals?
September, October 1st, maybe.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while to really think about that for
But
a
if
while.
I'm not-
And that's my question, is why now, when the season ended all the way back in October? You didn't make the playoffs, obviously, so you had a lot of time to really think about this, and you knew that you were going into the season. You even knew going into spring training that he was going to be a lame duck manager, and then you decided here, March, when did they decide this? 16th, I believe? March 16th or 15th. Yeah, the 15th or 16th. That's when they decided.
But Brooke, did he really have enough time? Did Mo really have enough time to think about it before this?
Yeah, no, I think so. I believe so.
Because according to Katie Wu's piece in The Athletic, he actually had a lot going on during the course of the offseason. And
Let me know.
maybe he didn't have time to think about it. By the way, here's Mo on MLB Network talking about said extension.
Well, I think, going into the offseason, we knew we were going to have to redo our roster. You look back at last year, it was not the kind of year we had hoped for. And so we had a lot of player moves. Ultimately, I think we had 16 new players on our 40-man roster from how we finished. So a lot of churn. But Oli, as a leader, I think he does an amazing job as a manager. We did know that, publicly, I think a lot of people were like, get rid of Mo and Oli after last year. So we want to be a little careful on the timing of all that. But really, I did not want it to be a distraction this whole season with him being on his last year of his contract. And so as spring training was unfolding, I got with Mr. DeWitt. We talked through it, and ultimately we added 2 more years to it.
Now, here is Mo's quote to Katie Wu at The Athletic. We were doing a lot of unpacking on the season, trying to think about what we could learn or what we could do different. At the time, I said, as far as a contract extension goes, let's not focus on that right now. Let's just worry about the roster, get ourselves into a position, and then maybe at some point we'll revisit it. Or maybe we'll simply wait until the end of the year. So he was working on other things, Brooke.
I'm not fully buying into that, Randy, because the thing is that, look, first of all, I just want to state here, just because you have an extension doesn't give you complete job security, but it doesn't make you a lame duck manager going to the season. So I think that's something to make abundantly clear here, is that they have another stinker of a season. They should, and I assume would anyways, decide to move on from Oli Marmol, because you should and you have to. Now, from the 314 here, I think they know the season will be starting poorly. I think this is a very valid point, because it's something that even Mozeliak stated as much, because you aren't going to have your projected 2 starting outfielders, likely, because I think we're still waiting to hear more about Lars Nootbaar, but you're definitely not going to have Tommy Edman to start the season. Sonny Gray, while they're hoping to not start him on the injured list to start the season, it seems like he at least will be held back, and he will pitch later on, possibly during the first road trip of the season. And we also are abundantly aware of how difficult this season starts for the Cardinals. But we all kind of knew that this stuff was going to happen going into the season. So it's just, I'm having a hard time with the timing of it all, because, Randy, we're also not far removed just a few years ago from the way that Mike Schultz was fired, and in the manner in which that he was fired. It's hard to kind of separate what happened in that situation into now, where you have a 91-loss season that leads to a 2-year contract extension.
I think there's less stress. I think there's less consternation. There is alignment, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, but because they did lose 91 games last year. But there is alignment clearly between ownership, the Pobo, and the manager, and they all want to be on the same page. That's important for them. The continuity is important to Bill DeWitt. He wants to keep people around. although he hasn't lately.
But that's great. Wasn't Mike Schilt a longtime employee of the organization?
Yeah, but there wasn't alignment philosophically, clearly, because there were philosophical differences.
Oh, gosh, I know. Believe me. I wanted to ban that phrase for so long.
Yeah.
If I heard philosophical differences one more time, I was about to lose my mind. But you would think that somebody who was a member for, how long was Mike Schilt a
18
member?
years.
18 years. Somebody should be philosophically aligned within your organization if they've been a part of your organization for 18 years and worked his way up the ladder.
But don't you get the sense, judging from that situation and this one, that there is a real aversion to creative tension among the Cardinals front office? They don't want somebody that is going to rock the boat. They want yes men. Right? That's the way it appears to me. And maybe it'll work. But there was always creative tension when Tony La Russa was here. Walt and Tony and Bill DeWitt were not always on the same page. They went through it even when Mo was here. Mo didn't want to get rid of Colby Rasmus, but Tony almost forced him into it. Mo did not want to go out and do what it took to get Matt Holliday, but Tony forced him into it. So that was creative tension that worked to the organization's advantage. Mike Matheny reached a point where he wanted some things that they weren't prepared to give, and even though the team was over 500 and in the hunt, they fired him because of creative tension, and clearly that happened with Mike Schilt. I don't believe that Oli Marmol is somebody who provides creative tension. It's kumbaya in the Cardinals front office.
He doesn't create resistance, which I think, of course, I remember very clearly during Mike Schilt's time that he wasn't afraid to go in front of the media members and say, we need this, we need that, which was very Tony La Russa-esque. And I'm not saying he's Tony La Russa, but I'm saying that Tony La Russa, as you know, would do some of the same things of where he would publicly speak out about what was missing from the roster. I haven't seen Oli Marmol necessarily do that, and I'm sure that that's something that maybe the front office is more in line with. Of, okay, don't publicly go out there and say, I'm missing this and this from the roster, because then it looks bad possibly on Mozeliak and the front office for not getting those pieces for the roster. Now, I don't doubt that Oli Marmol, that he had to deal with a bad roster last season. I said as much. He did not have a good roster last season, and so this was a prove-it year to me. And when you're talking about the creative tension, I think that that's a great thing, because pressure creates diamonds, right? It's good to have that pressure. And of course, the pressure is not going away with the contract extension. Oli Marmol is fully aware of that. It does give him a little bit less pressure going into the season. It's more of the timing of this is confusing to me, because why not just wait until maybe they're playoff contenders? Why not wait till later on? Because if they knew that he was going to be their manager all along, why didn't they do this back in October?
He's not making enough money for it to be a factor. And yes, when they signed Matheny 2 days after the 2016 World Series to his extension, which ran through 2020, they were doing timing, but they had also won 100 games 2 years before, and they were in the hunt until game 162 in 2016. So it was a little bit different situation. But they also, after giving Matheny the extension, following the 2016, before 2017, they fired him at the All-Star break in 2017. So this doesn't give Oli Marmol the ability to cause tension, or I think to lose. One thing that we need to keep in mind, people say the Cardinals, they know that if they're mediocre, they'll get 3 million people through the gate. Where's your evidence for that? Because from what I remember in the 90s, when the Cardinals were mediocre or bad, they didn't get 3 million people through the gate. And what I also know is that from 2010, the end of 2010, through the 2022 season, the Cardinals played 5 games in the regular season in which they didn't have a chance to make the playoffs. Why would you complain about people who are going to playoff, a team that's in playoff contention? That's foolish. That's what everybody wants to do, is make the playoffs. That's when you're in the playoffs or really close to the playoffs, that's not mediocre. And that's why people are going, is because they're entertained. Now, last year, the Cardinals think was a one-off. But
do you buy that? Do you buy that it was fully just a one-off?
No, I don't. But that's when we'll find out if fans will keep coming to see a mediocre product if it wasn't a one-off. Because at the moment, I don't think we have enough evidence to determine whether or not Cardinal fans will come out to watch a bad product. And I will also say this. How do the Cardinals get people, how does the ownership of the Cardinals and ownership of Ballpark Village get people into Ballpark Village?
Winning.
Winning baseball, right?
That's as simple as that.
So if you want your businesses to work, you better have a winning baseball team.
Yeah, you need to. And that's the thing that I think is a little bit confusing. Now, can they completely come back? I have no doubt. You talked about the Brewers. I fully believe that they're going to struggle this season. But once again, you can't bank on the division. We saw that last year. You can't bank on the division somehow just working within your favor. It doesn't always work out that way. And I think that last year was clear of that. Now, I think it is interesting. We keep getting this question from the 314. This is Molina not being there. Do you think that that has a factor into any of this, that we haven't seen Yadier Molina in spring training yet?
Oh, yeah. I think both Yadi and Albert now know that they aren't going to be the Cardinal manager. And I think that was probably a message that was sent. My guess would be that the only reason that Yadier Molina is, was he a special advisor to the Pobo?
Yeah. Yes.
That's public pressure. That was just a narrative. I don't think he's really a member of the organization. I think if he had any influence, then he would be in camp. I don't think any of the Cardinal legends have real influence. I think they're celebrity coaches. I think Willie McGee, unfortunately, is a celebrity coach. But I certainly think that if Yadi were there or if Albert were there, it would be more of a celebrity nature.
Yeah.
The one guy who's able to withstand that is Ozzie.
Ozzie, yes, 100%. But that's what you want within your organization. I want Chris Carpenter back around the organization. I want Yadier Molina back around the organization. I know that Albert Pujols has his commitment that he has to do with the Angels, so I don't know how much that hinders it. But Albert has also been very clear here recently that he wants to be a manager one day, and Yadi has said as much as well.
And by the way, I'm not blaming the Cardinals for this.
No.
Yadier Molina is the guy that has the ego and wants to be the manager. It's not them. They're trying to have him in the organization. So it's the Cardinals, I'm sure, would welcome him to camp on the basis that he signed up to do. There's a reason that he's not a coach or is not involved with helping players during spring training. Either he didn't want to, or whatever the reason is, or they didn't want to have him do it. But there's a reason that he's not a coach, and he is a special assistant to the Pobo. I'd like to know what he's done so far.
The special assistant to the Pobo?
Yeah.
I was wishing that he would be around for spring training, because not only did I think that it would be great pressure, as we're talking about having that within your organization, having that creative tension is very, very important because, as I said, pressure creates diamonds. That's what you want. And I think that would have been fantastic. But at the same time, I think that maybe the commitment might have been the issue there. And I know that he had to finish up some things in Puerto Rico and maybe get things more in line, but maybe he had an idea also of what exactly that job would look like, and it hasn't panned out and made the way that he possibly thought.
And one other point from Oli's perspective, this contract extension, I think, does give him the opportunity, maybe he won't take advantage of it, to have a little bit of security to go and say, hey, let's try this. Do it in a cordial way. But, hey, this isn't working. Let's try this. And his coaches can come to him now because he knows that he's got the security, that Yadi's not theoretically taking his job. And maybe he can accept input from outside sources without the threat of those people stealing his job because it's in the last year of his contract.
And I think that would be a fantastic thing. When you're talking about having the same message throughout the organization, that doesn't mean that it only comes from the top of the organization down. It also means that all levels of the organization can also go up to the front office and say, hey, this is what we're missing. This is what we need. We might need this type of coach. We might need this type of player. We need this within the organization so that you aren't behind of maybe even some of the trends that we're currently seeing in baseball.
Coming up later, we are going to hear from you about the Oli extension, and we'd love to have you use the mic drop feature with the 101 ESPN app. And, of course, coming up at 9:15, you can send us your texts as well. Coming up next, so get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! We've got Tioli coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, maybe your gutters were affected by the storm last week, and if you need new gutters, you should go to gutterpros.com. They're the best in St. Louis at replacing and installing gutters, and they do so much. And if you do need new gutters, if they're all dented up from the big hail, go to gutterpros.com and set up your appointment today. Gutter Pros is a fantastic St. Louis company with an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau, and they get 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. And right now, they're doing great work with gutters, but they also do leaf protection and soffit and fascia and siding. And spring is a great time to consider a new face for your house or a new look and a refreshed look. And so if you're in that market, or if you do have damage to your home from the storm, get in touch with Gutter Pros. And they can do everything that you need done, whether it is residential or commercial. They can provide gutters, as we mentioned. They can provide leaf protection, and they'll provide everything you need to have great installation and a great product for your home. If you need new gutters, there's only one place to go in St. Louis. It's gutterpros.com, because at Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to.
Time for Take It or Leave It.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your Take It or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
It's time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Matthew, and Randy with you, and we've been talking about the extension for Oli Marmol. Take it or leave it, Brooke. Regardless of how the Cardinals perform, Oli Marmol manages the last game of the season for the Cardinals.
Oh, regardless. Yeah, I'll take that.
Regardless of how they perform.
Yeah, regardless.
I think they will, too. I think that he can lose 100 games, and they'll wait until after the season to determine his fate.
Maybe philosophical differences.
Yeah, that could be it.
Or a new term will be invented.
Our philosophy is about winning. Because now what they'll say is, well, we gave them all the tools to win, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, as confusing as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't expecting this. I really don't think anybody was expecting this. Even Mozeliak said in his own quote in Katie Wu of the Athletics article that Marmol wasn't expecting it. So I don't think many people were, just because the timing of it was so strange. But at the same time, I think that it should be pretty clear, and I'd hope that the Cardinals would do so. I would assume that they would do so, that if it's another bad year, that you would have to make some changes.
Right, but I think he gets the whole year.
Yes, I agree.
By the way, take it or leave it, when Oli sat down in Mo's office on Thursday, Mo said, this conversation isn't going to go the way you expect it to.
Take it. I'm gonna take that. Oh man, I would have loved to have been in that room, wouldn't you? All right, yeah. I'm gonna stay with the Cardinals theme, because take it or leave it. Speaking of extensions, I'm not expecting, but maybe now I should expect this. Take it or leave it. Paul Goldschmidt will be extended by the end of spring training.
I am going to take that. I will. Yeah.
Just a little cherry on top to end spring training, which
Yeah.
is wrapping up here soon.
Yeah, maybe 1+1.
Do you think they'll give him the Waino treatment 1 year?
Yeah, but I would think that there will be a vesting option with games played or at-bats or something like that that will guarantee him the opportunity to play in 2025.
I could see it.
Yeah, good call. Matthew, what do we got on the text line?
Take it or leave it. The Blues have their dynamic young duo. It's not Thomas and Kyrou. It's Thomas and Neighbors.
Oh, I'll take it.
I'll take it. Now, Jordan Kyrou did have a great game the other night. I think it's just that we would like to see it on a more consistent basis. That's just my own personal feeling on it.
By the way, did you see that Dalibor Dvorsky is 5th in the OHL in scoring?
Ooh.
Yeah, he's over 40 goals. He's 78 points, 81 points, 5th in the league in scoring.
I asked JR about that on, was he in studio on Thursday?
Yeah, that
Friday?
was,
One of the
I
days?
think it was one of those days.
And I asked him about Dalibor Dvorsky, and he said maybe at the end of next year. And I'm like, come on, let's get a little bit more positive.
Yeah, come on. Sunshine.
Come on.
Lollipop.
Yeah, thank you. Let's
We
play the
want him
youngins.
now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Carlson should commit to just batting from the right side this season.
Yeah, I'll take
Ooh,
it.
I'll
That's
take
fun.
that. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm all about that one, yes.
I wonder if guys, because he started switch hitting when he was 6. I wonder if they think, well, I started doing it when I was 6. I must be good at it. If they just think that falsely.
I don't know if
because-
do you think it's him or do you think that the organization? Because I think they would prefer him not to be a switch hitter.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's him.
At some point, you just got to shut her down. Shut her down.
Take it or leave it. If the Battlehawks make the championship game, it's a full dome sellout.
Take it.
I'll take it.
I think they might sell one out anyway.
By the way, I was able to MC the Battlehawks event the other day, and that was very, very exciting because the Battlehawks will be hosting. Well, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the
passionate
universe.
fans, right?
Yeah, a lot of passionate fans. I'm just going to go ahead and put into the universe that the Battlehawks will be in the UFL championship game, which will be hosted here at the Dome.
Caw-caw. Yeah. Oh, and on that beautiful turf. Anybody got any green paint?
Brandy. Okay, next, take it or leave it. Next, take it or leave it, please.
Do you need to paint all the green, or you just need to touch up the
Rock.
white? You just need to touch up the white a little bit.
Rock, give us the next take it or
Sorry, my bad. Take it or leave it. Steve Mura, with 12 wins for the 1982 World Championship Cardinals, was the 5th best starter in franchise history.
I will have to leave that.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve Mura was fun, though. Had one of the great lines in the history of sports. Because he came here from the Padres, and he loved being involved in the tradition. He said, tradition in St. Louis is Stan the Man coming into the locker room to shake hands and glad hand. Tradition in San Diego is Nate Colbert coming in to try to sell you a used car.
Oh, my God. That's great.
take it or leave it. Green beer just tastes better.
Oh.
I'm going to have to,
I can't say that I
I don't
that's
know.
bad. I haven't
I've
actually
partaken.
done that. No,
Neither.
I haven't.
But I would guess if you've had 6 or 7 already, then it really doesn't matter.
I think bartending back in the day on St. Patrick's Day scarred me for life and kept me away from St. Patrick's Day. So I stay far away from that tradition. Even though I think I have some Irish ancestry. I have naturally reddish hair.
Oh, yeah, you're a ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ginger.
Yeah, Matthew, how was Dogtown?
I
he
had
didn't
to
go.
work all Sunday.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I dipped out about Dogtown about 11:30. Parade started at 11, so, yeah, I missed. And I can get back till 8 o'clock, so, yeah. It was dead time by then. Yeah, looked. Oh, yeah. Trust me, getting out of there at 11:30, even though the parade had already started, was
Tough.
I mean, I was navigating. I mean, it was. I mean, like my Italian ancestor Columbus, man. I was navigating to get out of that subdivision, that little.
That was
suburb.
good. That was good.
One guy who really enjoyed the Dogtown Parade every year was Jim Hannafin.
Oh yeah.
He loved being Irish.
The old Irish.
Yeah.
And which sucks because I bought these shorts this year. They were green shorts with little white shamrocks on them. I was gonna be peacocking around Dogtown with them.
Peacocking around.
And the schedule goes the other way. Very much peacocking. Take it or leave it. Jordan Binnington should be getting Vezina votes, but his antics the last 2 seasons are preventing him from getting votes.
I'll leave that.
I'll leave that.
I think we see him every day, so we know what Jordan Binnington is doing, but his numbers don't reflect how great he's played.
I know, and that's the tough part of it, is because I think that's if you're just part of the national media, they're like, oh no, he's not one of the best goalies currently right now. But if you're watching him from a game-to-game basis, you know exactly what he's doing for the Blues this season.
Yeah, let me see. Save percentage. Goals against, he's on the top 10. He's 13th in save percentage at .913. 2.80 goals against is good for 21st in the league. So he's just not putting up those sorts of numbers, even though he is putting up that sort of performance.
One final one. Take it or leave it. This is the last manager contract that Mo negotiates.
I like this.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm going to take it.
I'm going to take it, too, because he is supposed to be handing over the reins.
After 2025.
To who?
That's a great question. Is it Chaim Bloom?
I mean, Bloom's
Is it
around.
Randy Flores? Is it Michael Gersh?
Oh.
Is it somebody else that we don't know? Is it Yadier Molina?
Oh, well, that was, whoa.
Just happened here.
Whoa.
Special assistant to the Pobo.
We went all over
Isn't
the
that
place.
entree into becoming Pobo?
Should be.
What if we found out secretly that Yachty was the one who was pushing for Oli Marmol to get the 2-year
That
extension?
would be interesting. I would like that.
He is the special assistant to the Pobo, so maybe he wasn't on those conversations.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. Coming up, the NCAA tournament is set, and we do have one local team, the Fighting Illini, in there. Plus, we have our Valley representative. We're going to hit on who we like in the NCAA next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, everyone. It's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. As you know, the weather has been up and down here recently. It's like 80 degrees one day and then it's 40 the next. But where you shouldn't be feeling all those temperature changes is inside your home. So call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct to avoid the cold and all the weird weather changes. You may be wondering, can windows really make that big of a difference? Here's the thing. They really can. Their windows feature super spacer technology, which helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes the windows last up to 5 times longer than other Windows systems. So call Universal Windows Direct today at 314-334-2522 for your free in-home estimate. And for every 2 windows you buy, you get 2 for free. So buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. there's really no limit to what you can do here. Plus, they'll upgrade your new windows to triple pane glass for free, and they'll double your energy tax credit. Restrictions apply. Tell them I told you to call and get an additional $250 off your next project. For the last windows you'll ever need, go to universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Congratulations to the Fighting Illini. They came away with a victory over Wisconsin yesterday in the Big Ten championship game. 93-87 was the final, and the Illini on their way to the NCAA tournament. They are a number 3 seed, and they will take on Morehead State in Omaha in the East region on in round 1 on March 21st. Drake from the St. Louis-based Missouri Valley Conference will play in the first round in Omaha as well. They'll take on Washington State, and Dayton from the A-10. They will take on Nevada in the first round in Salt Lake City. So the NCAA tournament is off and running. Actually, we have the play-in games tomorrow and Wednesday. And then everything gets underway, as you know, on Thursday. Kind of a weird year. And UConn won it all last year, and they're back as a number 1 seed this year.
They are. I think that, honestly, the region I'm most excited to watch will be the East region because of UConn. But if you look at the other teams that are part of that East region, you have UConn, who won the Big East tournament. You also have Iowa State, who won the Big 12 tournament. And, of course, as you mentioned, Randy, Illinois, the number 3 seed, who won the Big 10 tournament. And they also have been really catching on fire here lately. And we could talk about Terrence Shannon Jr. He's been doing really, really well here as of late.
34 yesterday in the win.
Yes. And then you have number 4 seed Auburn, who won the SEC tournament. That is, to me, the most exciting region to watch, which is the East region.
And Bruce Pearl has done a really good job with Auburn, and they've had their ups and downs this year. They went 27-7, had a little bit of a lull, but were good enough to be a 4 seed in the East. And the East seems to be the most treacherous region. Not that there's anything easy, but when you have those threats, like Illinois being a 3 seed, that is a major team that's a 3 seed.
Yeah, and Terrence Shannon Jr., by the way, as you mentioned, what he was able to do, he's averaging 32 points in his past 4 games. So he is really catching on fire.
He's turned it on, and those have been big games, too, and there's no reason to believe that he won't be able to do it in the tournament. And if Illinois can win their opener against Morehead State, then they get the BYU Duquesne winner in the second round, and then they could see either Iowa State or Drake in the third round. So you might get an Illinois Drake in the third round. Darian DeVries has done an amazing job at Drake. Congratulations to them. You look down in the West, and I mentioned Dayton is a 7 seed. North Carolina, we talk about tough roads. North Carolina seems to be a team that has a pretty easy road. Michigan State's in there as a 9, and we know what Tom Izzo does come tournament time. Arizona, Caleb Love has had a great year.
I was going to say, Caleb Love is on my list of must-watch players in this year's tournament because he played for North Carolina, and now he's with Arizona, and he was just named what I believe will be the last Pac-12 player of the AP's Pac-12 Player of the Year.
Yeah, but they just don't seem to be a powerhouse. And when you look at I see the number 2 seed, and sure, they were 25-8, but they just don't seem overwhelming. And when I look at the entire region, Alabama, really good. I don't think they're great. Baylor, really good. I don't think they're great. So I would say that North Carolina, if they play their game, and by the way, I don't think they're great either, but I would say that if there is a region to get through, it's that one.
The West region?
Yeah, I think the West is one that's pretty easy. Houston should be able to handle their South region. Houston, the number 1 seed. But again, a number 1 seed always seems to fall. And there's going to be somebody there. Kentucky is a 3 seed. There's another... We know Kentucky well. This does not seem to be an overwhelming Kentucky team.
No.
It seems to be a watered down year in college basketball.
It really does, except for, and maybe I'm just going to go ahead and say this, but I was thinking about this last night. I'm honestly more interested in women's this year than men's, because it feels like you don't see as many of some of those big stars that you're expecting. And when I look at some of these teams, it's not exactly like I'm super excited to watch this. I think the East region, honestly, I wish it was a little bit different, because I would rather see some of these other matchups in the Final Four rather than in the same region together.
And the thing is, when we look at the 4 number 1s, they aren't the Blue Bloods. And it is interesting now to look at the tournament. No Coach K, no Roy Williams, no Boeheim, no Huggins. Calipari didn't have a great year. Patino, they rejected an NIT bid at St. John's because they didn't get an NCAA bid. So the legendary coaches aren't there. And your 4 number 1 seeds are UConn, North Carolina, Houston, and Purdue, which aren't your traditional powerhouses. But Houston is the one program and the one team under Kelvin Sampson that, for whatever reason, seems to get consistent defensive effort. He does a really good job, and so does Dan Hurley at UConn. But I think those two, and it's been this way throughout the course of the season, they seem to be the 2 teams that do things right on a consistent basis.
I don't know if there will be any surprises, but sometimes I expect that every single year, and there's always surprises. When you were talking about some of the other, number 2 seeds, I did find the stat interesting last night that you shouldn't overlook the 2 versus 15 matchups either with your brackets and you're putting them together, because there's an active 3-year streak of 15 seeds upsetting 2 seeds. So what is your approach when you're making your bracket? Do you do several different brackets? Of course, you have to put it in pen. Do you do one online? Because I always, every year, I have at least 2. I do one where I'm like, okay, this is how it should go, just based off of records and schedules. And then I also do kind of a fun, crazy one where I'm trying to predict maybe some of the upsets that could possibly happen, because there's always going to be upsets.
Right. I very rarely, if ever, pick a 2 versus 15 and pick the 15. I always look at the 12-5s, because there always seems to be an upset in the 12-5, and there are a couple of teams that I think are really interesting in the 12-5 matchups, and they both come from the left side of the bracket. I am very intrigued by GCU, Grand Canyon University. They were 29-4. They play St. Mary's in the first round, and St. Mary's is very good but vulnerable, and our old friend Randy Bennett, who was an assistant at SLU, longtime coach at St. Mary's, has done a great job there. But I could see a GCU going on a run because they've had a great year. And then the other 12-5 is UAB. And San Diego State made the Final Four last year, but they aren't as good as they were last year. I could see a 12-5 upset there, too.
I know it's kitschy, but can I do a little committee bashing for a second?
Sure.
The Indiana State mistake. They have a couple big powers in their non-conference schedule. They play them tight, so they play a harder non-conference. They are pretty much at the top of their league the entire season, and you bump them for some much more boring, not nearly as, in my opinion, talented, bigger conference schools. And the other part is the Big East. Consistently one of the best conferences. They get 3 top 3 seeds, and then you just blank out the rest of the conference. If the other teams in the conference are playing 3 teams that are top 3 teams, shouldn't you then put that into consideration with their strength of schedule? How is there not another Big East team that slips in at any point in this?
You did have some bid stealing over the weekend.
There was some bid stealing, but still.
But overall, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That the tournament committee generally leans towards Power 6, and next year it'll be Power 5, because this is last year of the Pac-12. But it's going to go to the Big 12. It's going to go to the Big 10. It's going to go to the SEC. It's going to go to the ACC. It's going to go to the Big East, along with the Pac-12 in basketball. And that's what happens, is the mid-majors always get screwed. It is a shame that in Indiana State, they were great this year. They should be in the tournament. They're one of the 68 best teams.
And the thing is, you can always find one or two candidates that get, bumped by the committee that shouldn't have. But honestly, the Big East one bothers me even more because I think it shows a flaw in the Indiana State one shows a flaw in the net ranking because their net was so damn high, and I don't know how you don't take them when their net's that high, and that's supposed to be this guiding principle. And then when you just look at how Ken Pom had the rest of the Big East ranked, I just don't. The Big East one bothers me more because I don't know how you don't take into consideration the strength of the schedule with 3 top 3 seeds. It boggles my mind a little bit.
You know what? Here's what I think happens. And it shouldn't, but it does. I think the football people are in charge.
Oh.
Right? Doesn't that make sense? It's
block out the Big East.
Yeah,
what do you mean with them?
Is not a football conference.
From the 314, hey Brooke, let me know how the ratings turn out and see where the interest in more the men's or women's. Where the interest is in more or the men's or women's. Randy, do you think I just pulled that out of my butt, or do you think there's been quite a few articles about the TV ratings?
Have been, yes. So
I didn't pull that out of my hiney. Am I allowed to say that?
You are. You
okay?
can.
Thank you.
No, that happened last year in the Final Four, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yeah.
But even this year, the ratings have actually been stellar, especially with Caitlin Clark.
The biggest star in all of college basketball this year is Caitlin Clark. Right?
It is.
Men's and women's, there's no question that the biggest star in the sport is Caitlin Clark.
Also, if we're just going to go off our text line responses, the first responses we got in college basketball today were either one, Illinois related, or if somebody was talking about a tournament, the first text we got today was somebody saying, have you guys seen the path that they gave Iowa in the women's tournament? It's completely ridiculous. Right out of the gate. Texters are hitting us about the women's tournament over the men's tournament. I don't think it's crazy. I'm not saying the men's tournament's going to lose in the ratings battle, but you just can't ignore the jump that women's college basketball has taken over the last year.
And that's the point. It has made a jump. I never said that there was going to be for somehow it was going to be better ratings. I'm saying that you will have. I personally have more interest in women's basketball this year. We heard from Earl. What was that? Earl Austin a couple weeks ago, who is a big fan of all basketball, and he even said he had more interest in women's basketball this year. You've seen a rise in it, and I think that's a good thing.
No doubt about it. And now they have fights.
That's how you improve basketball in general. More fights. More fights.
The NBA almost crumbled because of a fight.
Yeah, but they also, that's what brought them into what they are now.
Fine.
Yeah, it wasn't Michael Jordan, it was Kerber Washington.
It wasn't Michael, Kobe, LeBron. It was the fights. It was the malice at the palace.
When we get to the end of 2024, you might, the line of the year, you may have had the line of the year for Miles Michaelis, but I wish you would have pushed Angel Reese. Would have been.
Oh my gosh.
That might be one of them too.
Yes.
Coming up on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk to the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. He's coming your way on the opening drive.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. In case you missed it over the weekend, the Cardinals signing manager Oli Marmol to a 2-year contract extension. As for Sonny Gray, according to Marmol, he will not be cleared for opening day, but a path still remains to where he possibly won't require a stint on the injured list, potentially pitching later during the first road trip of the season. The Cardinals deciding that Miles Michaelis will be the opening day starter against the Dodgers on March 28th. Michaelis with the quote of the weekend telling reporters that the Cardinals are not exactly a low payroll team, but you got the Dodgers playing checkbook baseball, adding that it would be great to stick it to the Dodgers. Your Redbirds get the day off today, and they will be back in action Tuesday against the Marlins.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
right, so my wife and daughter were in Indianapolis for a volleyball tournament this weekend, and when they left on Thursday night, I didn't realize that they had turned the heater off, the furnace off. I wake up Friday morning, the house is like 61 degrees. I'm like, why is it so cold in here? Okay, so I go turn the furnace on and heat the house back up. But it's that time of the year where you're going sometimes maybe from the air conditioner to the furnace to just the outdoor air. And when doing that, you may realize that you've got a problem with your air conditioner or your furnace, or maybe it's reminding you that you need to get it checked out and repaired, or maybe checked out and just looked at to make sure that it's ready for the summer. Where do you do that? Classic Air Care. They've been making people comfortable since 1926. How about this review? Dan was wonderful. Would give him more than 10 stars, but 5 is the highest. That came from Joseph. You can get the work done, and you can get it done timely. You can get it done before the summer hits, and you go to ClassicAirCare.com to schedule it. They're local. They're going to take care of you. They take care of everybody with the kind of care that they take care of their own home. That's what makes them so good. So as we head towards the summer, as we get into the spring, and you start to go from heater to air conditioner and back to your furnace, check out Classic Air Care. Get it looked at, get it cleaned up, and get it ready for the summer season. ClassicAirCare.com.
Time for KerbSide with the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Brooke and Randy with you, and the voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Chris Kerber joins us. Kerbs, good morning. How you doing?
Randy, I'm awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. It is good to be here, and it's good to see the Blues back. I never know what to expect. I guess the last 2 games have shown us what they're capable of. We've seen that a lot this year. We've seen what they're not capable of a lot this year. But that being said, with where we are now in the season, do you feel like you know what to expect on an evening-to-evening basis from this hockey team?
Nope.
Me either.
I don't think I'm any closer to that than I was on day 1 of the regular season, to be honest with you.
And the first 2 periods last night showed us that, didn't
it? Well, that's exactly right. You're watching the first period and a half, first 2 periods of that game, and you're sitting there thinking, I'm not at all surprised. Right?
Right, exactly.
And listen, and I'm not being a sarcastic, pain in the you-know-what. I'm not being a jerk about that. I'm actually being serious. Like, we've seen that game against Columbus before the break, the road trip in early December with Columbus and Chicago, the early season game in San Jose when I think we were only their 2nd or 3rd win of the year. You've seen this happen. And now the only challenge I would say is that, yes, it was your 2nd game in less than 24 hours. But you know what? Every team does that. And so you're going to have a little bit of lull in performance. That's got to be expected. This is a grind of a season, and there's just – I don't think there's enough rest time, to be honest with you, for you to see the top of each team all the time. But, yeah, that concerned you. Now, the power play got going, and I'll tell you what, and I brought this up. It was one of our – there are 2 main focuses to KerbSide Reaction, our podcast that's up with the breakdown of last night's game. One was coaching. And 2 was Jake Neighbors. And you got to start with the coaching, Randy, because they came out, and when they made the changes on the power play for the 3rd period, putting Shen and putting Falk out there, it seemed to just give a little more directness to that unit. And, man, did they explode in the 3rd period, and they needed to.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, Kerbs, is that Jake Neighbors, he was right there, net front presence, it seemed like, on every single power play goal. And I don't think that Craig Berube, of course, didn't want that, but it seems like for whatever reason the team is buying into it a little bit more, because you even saw Kevin Hayes. His goal, he was right there in front of the net. What do you think has been the change under Drew Bannister with that?
It's actually a good question, Brooke, because I don't know. I haven't asked a couple of the guys, and maybe I'll ask this when I don't think they're practicing today, but tomorrow with the morning skate. I have to think I mean, am I talking with Drew Bannister? I haven't heard that much different than what you heard Craig Berube talk about. I had to think that this was all part of it, and it just wasn't happening for whatever reason. And, maybe it was the fact that, oh my gosh, we got a coach fired. The guys woke up. I have no idea what that reason is, but I think the biggest difference, and there might be another little tweak or two, but the biggest difference for the Blues under Drew Bannister has been their net front presence, and that's been a really big factor here. And if you guys didn't hear Jake Neighbors' comments after the game, and we clipped them, and that's how we opened the podcast. But this is not your typical 21-year-old talking about a game in the National Hockey League. I listened to him. And he is as good, if not better, than anybody in that room in breaking down the game and being able to speak about it after the game, right? Just giving credit to Braden Chen for an awesome shot. Just the maturity of him. And I continue to be impressed with not just Jake Neighbors, the player, but Jake Neighbors, the person, Jake Neighbors, the hockey guy, because he just does it right. And his comment when he was asked, I can't remember if it was Lou or Matt DeFranks that asked him after the game about, has the coach talked to you about going there? He says, no, I just came into practice one day, saw my name on the board, and it was in the blue paint, and I knew what my job was then. I mean, that's as cool of a quote as it gets, I think, from a hockey player, to be honest with you. I thought it was awesome, and that's what we're seeing in Jake Neighbors. What a year he's having.
Well, Kerbs, the other quote that I really like from Neighbors, when you're talking about him as a player and as a person, he said, there's no satisfaction at all. We still have a lot of work to do. Do you think that he is a voice, even though he is so young, that he's a voice that is allowed to speak up in that locker room?
Well, 1,000%. 1,000%. And if you are going to have a transition like the Blues are going through, your younger players have got to be they've got to feel like they've got that voice in there. And some are a lot more comfortable than others. It's just he's so well spoken with it. I've referenced this and referred to this a lot. I'm thinking the same way about a young Jake Neighbors that I thought about Barret Jackman when Barret was a rookie and a young player in the National Hockey League. It's the way that they talk and think the game. And I mean, it's almost like he's been coached with this veteran mind. And it's fantastic. Now, I'll say this. If you go back, do you guys remember the comments from Toropchenko last year?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. All right. I said this then. I'll say it again now. His comments weren't taken out of context. His comments weren't misunderstood. There wasn't a language barrier. I just think that there's some players in the locker room and maybe people above or in the coach's office or whatever that didn't like it. But it didn't make one bit of it not true. And I thought it was fantastic. And I actually think that sometimes some of the best post-game quotes that we have on this team come from Alexei Toropchenko. Mm-hmm. And he knew exactly what he was saying. And the idea that there was a bit of a language barrier. I thought that was a cop-out and baloney. What should have said is he goes, yeah, you know what? We played like that, and we're glad that he's a young guy that recognizes this because he plays hard. And so I bring that back up, Brooke, because I think when you have guys that have that kind of drive, that they can say it the way they want to say it, and you give them that voice to feel comfortable to say it, I think it just makes the team better. And so I'm happy that you've got some younger players that can speak like this and talk after games and say what's on their mind. I think it's a good thing.
All right, Kerbs, the Blues call up Matthew Kessel and give him the contract. They have Justin Falk. They have Colton Parayko. Is Matthew Kessel a top four defenseman?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I talked to somebody about this, and right now he is, because he's complementing Torrey Krug with that right-handed shot really, really well. And Drew Bannister addressed that with us yesterday on the coaches show. Having that right-handed shot seems to be making a difference. Right now, I don't think he's shown anything that says he can't be. On a better, on a team that's a little more consistent and maybe a deeper team, is he probably 5 or 6, maybe? But, at 16, 17 minutes a game right now, the way this team is made up, he's playing like a top four defenseman. And I don't, when you've got a young player playing in his first season in the league, I hate the idea of trying to project that out in terms of what is going to be. But he's showing right now that he can handle it. And, Al McInnes has said this quite a lot. Look at a defenseman, and then, you'll get a much better idea where he's at about game number 300 because of just it takes time. You got to get around the league. You got to get around a couple times. And once he gets around this league, even another second to the third time, kind of like a hitter on a starting pitcher going through the order for the third time, right? Mm-hmm. You almost know a lot more of what to expect, and your chances of getting a higher batting average or getting on base are better that time. It's going to be the same thing for Matt Kessel, but I think you've got to be really happy with what you're seeing.
Finally, Kerbs, the Avalanche in town tomorrow, and the Blues are in a position where they can't afford to lose games. So what are you looking for tomorrow?
Well, chant it with me. Binner, 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 binner.
That's it, yep.
I was ready to keep going.
That's where it starts, right? I think Jordan's going to he's had the rest. Hofer did a great job last night doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Jordan Binnington has not sat for 2 straight games all year.
Wow. That's
okay. So sometimes, sometimes you might say, okay, the goalie needs a rest, here or there, or that kind of thing. He has not sat for 2 consecutive games all season, and he's been fantastic. And these 2 guys down the stretch are the reason that you're in it. But to me, it starts with Jordan Binnington tomorrow night. You're going to have to stay out of the penalty box, which they've done a really good job at of late. And special teams on the other side, if you get that chance, you've got to score on them. So the Blues have a chance for their second 5-game winning streak of the season. You're not going to win out the rest of the way. But with some of these tough games against another one against Minnesota, you've got Colorado. There's a home game against Edmonton. There's a home game against Vegas. You've got some tough ones coming out. You're going to have to get some points in some of these games, even if it's won in overtime against the teams ahead of you in the standing to still keep pace.
Kerbs, thanks so much for the time. Have a great day. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have an awesome week, you guys.
You too. Thank you, sir. That is the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, here on 101 ESPN. By the way, the Avalanche have won 6 in a row. In the Central Division, Winnipeg has 91 points. Colorado has 91 points. Dallas has 91 points. And Vancouver has 92 points. So all of those teams are still battling for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. So Winnipeg, Colorado, Dallas, Vancouver, all really hungry. And then teams like the Blues hungry just because they're trying to make the playoffs. Coming up, how did we do at the fight last week?
We made it. We made
no
it,
Hall
Randy.
of Famers?
The Grim Reaper, they got close, and then Friday was the hardest. That was really, really hard, but it was a intense competition. The Grim Reaper.
So you won on Monday.
And then I lost.
Lost on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday.
But Friday it was like scraping by.
Yeah, Friday was
Friday was
I think Friday was a 2-1.
by.
Friday was a 2-1 victory, I believe. But she went 4-1. Yeah.
Just barely, though, Randy.
Thank
Just
you.
barely.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for handling the fort.
Shut down that Hall of Fame shot in round 2.
Love it. We've got the fight coming up next. We need a fighter, so you can text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. And maybe Matthew will pick you if you text in, leave your name and the word fight, and you might fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, our friends at Schnucks know that everyone's looking for ways to save more money these days, and that's why they're having another special big 3-day sale with red-hot deals, the Schnucks Deals and Steals 3-day sale this weekend. When you go into Schnucks this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you're going to see big-time money off, deals you won't believe, and steals that'll make you think you're getting away with something, which means these aren't sales that you see every week. These are special sales with major money off the items you love. Check some of these out. Items to highlight include seedless grapes, $1.99 a pound. I need to pick up some. Pork loin, baby back ribs, $1.99 a pound. And Smokehouse Daddy Chicken Wings, $1.49 a pound at Schnucks. There's so many ways to save money. You can earn 2% back with Schnucks Rewards. You can find hundreds of exclusive digital coupons in the app. And now you can turbocharge your savings with the Schnucks Deals and Steals 3-day sale at Schnucks this weekend. So make sure you take advantage of this week's huge savings and keep your eyes and ears open for the next Deals and Steals sale at Schnucks. Schnucks Deals and Steals Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Schnucks.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. St. Louis City SC with another draw on this season, 3-3 to the LA Galaxy. They now sit tied for fourth in the West with 6 points from 1 win and 3 draws. The Blues over the weekend with 2 big wins in a row. Blues over the Wild 3-2 on Saturday. Blues over the Ducks 4-2 on Sunday. They will face off against the Avalanche after a day off tonight on Tuesday evening. Puck drop is set for 6:30 p.m. You can catch the pregame show right here at 5:30 on 101 ESPN. And also over the weekend, of course, the Cardinals in spring training action yesterday. Cardinals 10, Houston Astros 6, and, of course, the extension for Oli Marmol. We are going to cover more about that extension at 9:15. Send in your mic drops right now on the 101 ESPN app. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Kerber.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Randy, and Rock here, and it is now time for the fight, and I'm happier to be on this side of things and not on the other side. Megamind is back today, and our fighter today to take on Megamind is Adam. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. Are you ready to face Randy in the fight?
No expectations, but yeah, sure.
There we go. You know what? No pressure going in. That's the right approach. Here's question number 1, Adam. When St. Louis hosted the 2005 Final Four, the 4 teams were UNC, Illinois, Michigan State, and which other program? Was it Florida, Wisconsin, or Louisville?
Wisconsin.
Which future Cardinals MVP did the Cardinals acquire when they traded Orlando Cepeda? Was that Willie McGee, Joe Torre, or Keith Hernandez?
Hernandez.
There is only one NFL franchise that has never had a player score 15-plus touchdowns in a single season. Which franchise is it? Is it the Baltimore Ravens, the New York Jets, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Jets.
And Phil Jackson started his NBA coaching career as a player coach for this Eastern Conference team. Was that the Chicago Bulls, the New Jersey Nets, or the Washington Bullets?
Can you repeat the question?
Phil Jackson, the Zen Master, started his NBA coaching career as a player coach for this Eastern Conference team. The Chicago Bulls, the New Jersey Nets, or the Washington Bullets?
I'm going to go with Bullets.
All right, we will double check our score, and I will bring in Randy Carricker.
All right, how are you feeling, Adam? I know you didn't have many expectations going in, but how do you feel now coming out of it?
Terrible, but it's against Randy, it's the king, so it is what it is.
It's terrible. Well, you never know. He just got back from vacation. Sometimes, it takes him a little bit to get back. I'm just kidding. He walked in the room. He's always 100% all the time.
No, not always.
Even his 80%, Adam, is like everybody else's 110. 120%. So,
I know he's got one grape in a pocket somewhere, so it is what it is.
And he walked in with a bag of grapes today.
Yeah,
exactly.
Say hi to Adam, Randy.
Adam, good morning. How you doing?
Good. Hey, congratulations on that Hall of Fame for you.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Very nice of you.
All right, ready for question number 1, Randy?
Ready.
When St. Louis hosted the 2005 Final Four, the 4 teams were UNC, Illinois, Michigan State, and which other program?
I think it was, I think, what's her name was here? Ashley Judd. I think it was Kentucky.
Which future Cardinals MVP did the Cardinals acquire when they traded Orlando Cepeda?
Which Cardinals MVP did they acquire when they traded Orlando Cepeda to the Braves for Joe Torre? Joe Torre, I'm going to go with.
Oh, okay.
Final answer.
Final answer. Question number 3. There is one NFL franchise that has never had a player score 15-plus touchdowns in a single season. Which franchise is it?
That's amazing. I'll do the lifeline here.
Okay. The Baltimore Ravens, the New York Jets, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, the Baltimore Ravens, I think Jamal Lewis had to score 15 touchdowns, I would think. Maybe not. The Jets... John Riggins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Evans has definitely scored 13. James Wilder. I'm trying to think of their most prolific players. Warwick Dunn, Allstott. I think I'm going to go with Tampa.
All right, Randy. And Phil Jackson started his NBA coaching career as a player coach for this Eastern Conference team.
The Knicks.
All righty. We do have a winner in this fight. No need for the tiebreaker, which I'm happy for because about 2 weeks ago when Randy was here, we burned through about 4 of those tiebreakers that week, and I'm running out of them. So thank you very much for another outright win. This time, though, is it Adam who shakes a coming back from vacation Randy, or did that rest just sharpen Megamind's mind? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Adam. Randy Carricker a little rusty today coming back from vacation. He beat you 2-0.
Great. See, I told you. No,
My apologies, Adam, but let's go through the questions and answers. It was Louisville, that fourth team we were looking for from the 2005 Final Four. You were right there around. You were just around the right area, Randy, but you jumped to the wrong side there. Louisville, excuse me. It was, of course, Orlando Cepeda for Joe Torre, a former MVP for a future MVP for the Cardinals. One NFL franchise that has never had a player score 15-plus touchdowns in a season. It is, in fact, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ray Rice scored 15 for the Ravens. Jamal Lewis actually only scored 14 in his 2,000 rushing yard season. Thomas Jones has the 15-touchdown season for the Jets, but Mike Evans has only scored 14 touchdowns in a season. No one has ever scored 15 in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey. And Phil Jackson started his NBA coaching career as a player coach for this Eastern Conference team. He won a championship with the Knicks, but his last couple of years in his career, he went cross town and played for the New Jersey Nets, where he then started as an assistant coach his last 2 years as a player in the NBA. So a 2-0 win for Randy Kerber in the fight today. Adam, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to my wife. Her birthday is this Friday, so I just want to give that out.
Happy birthday.
Yep. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate having you, and thanks for listening. We do enjoy your presence. Next up, we're going to head down to Florida, and our friend Derrick Goold from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and STL Today will join us to talk some Cards baseball here on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about Mentality because it will enhance your energy. Guys, as you pass your 30th birthday, your testosterone level drops and your energy level drops. Well, when you go to Mentality at lowtusa.com, they have an FDA-approved testosterone treatment that will get your energy level back to where it was when you were in your 20s. All you need to do is go to lowtusa.com and set up an appointment at one of their clinics in Chesterfield or South County, and their board-certified physicians will do a complete panel of your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is, and then they're going to restore it to where it should be and where you want it to be. And they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure that your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as can possibly be. And here's what will happen. When you get to Mentality, some of that low energy and motivation go by the boards. Moodiness, irritability, no longer. Maybe even that decreased mental sharpness and acuity that you thought you should have and you don't. Well, you'll get that back with Mentality. Get started now at lowtusa.com. The Cardinals with a day off down in Florida, and they'll be back at it tomorrow. But Derrick Goold of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and STLToday.com never takes a day off from covering Cardinal baseball. Brooke Grimsley, Randy Kerber, and Derrick joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Oh, good morning, Randy. Yes, we are neck deep into our special section season preview stuff here today. So off day for the team, but trying to put together the final touches on next week's Sunday special section.
Good. We're looking forward to that, and that'll be next Sunday, I take it?
Yeah, next Sunday. Coming out online all week, but available in Sunday's newspaper.
All right. Derrick, you've covered the Cardinals for a long time now. You've seen good teams and not so good teams. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get an identity of what a team is going to be in spring training, not always. But how are things coming together this spring so far?
Not as they'd hoped. Mostly because of injuries. You think about day one of camp, and John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, says right off the hop that, their spring is going to be defined by health. And I'm just really struck by the fact that last year, what really complicated and ultimately undermined their season and their ability to contend was a starting rotation. And then, of course, questions in the outfield and sort of, a carousel of options out there in the outfield. And how do they start this season? They start this season with Sonny Gray. Their big acquisition of the winter will not be there for opening day. They obviously hope to see him soon after that, but he's not there for opening day, not to start the year. Their starting left fielder, their starting center fielder are likely not to be there for opening day. We'll know more on Lars Nootbaar toward the end of this week and how quickly he's going to be ready. But as of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to be in there. And, oh, by the way, then they also start off with a rigorous schedule that could, as my colleague Ben Fredrickson pointed out in today's paper, that really just could put them right back where they were last season. So spring has not gone as planned. It's gone as they hoped for individuals. Certainly for the style of play, they look far sharper in a lot of areas this spring. But all of that is kind of overwhelmed by this health question and the absences they'll have.
So all the factors that you listed there, Derrick, do you think that also factored into the decision of making sure that they got this Oli Marmol contract extension? Do you think that was something that was thought about when they decided to make this extension happen?
Yeah, I think the beginning, maybe not the injuries so much as the beginning of the season. They can have I'll just be blunt, they can have an awful opening road trip and still win the NL Central. The season isn't over when the trucks circle Busch Stadium and the Redcoats come out for opening day, even if they really struggle against the Padres and the Dodgers. But they recognize that the conversation will become all about the manager. And I'm not so sure it still won't be, but at least there's the benefit to Marmol that he knows he has those guaranteed salaries for those out years, and that probably changes the conversation a bit. Whereas it would be at like such a decibel level if they really struggle in that first month, and they tried to do what they could, or at least recognize that it was unfair or they felt it was unfair to put their manager in that spot. I talked with Chairman Bill DeWitt Jr., and he said, you let that happen if you blame the manager for what went wrong. And he said, I don't do that. I don't blame the manager for what went wrong and ignore the fact that he said everybody had a bad year. He included himself in that. He said the front office had a bad year. He said you can't just let one person twist out there when the whole organization had a bad year and has to recover from it.
So just talking to the front office and Oli Marmol and John Mozeliak, and I think that all the things that you listed there, it all makes a lot of sense. But why do you think now? Because I think a lot of people might be questioning the timing of this. Why was now the right time to sign Oli Marmol to the contract extension?
To get ahead of that, to get ahead of like if they go to Dodger Stadium and go 1-3 or 0-4, and they go to San Diego and they go 1-2 against their former manager, and then Skip Schumacher comes in with the Miami for that opening thing, and the Cardinals are all of a sudden now down 3 series. They've faced the guy who had the job before the current manager. They faced the National League Manager of the Year, who was the bench coach the year before. And oh, by the way, they're lurking out in the distance is Albert Pujols, who wants to manage, and Yadier Molina, who wants to manage. I mean, they recognize. This is a conversation I had with both Marmol and John Mozeliak in December, and said it's hard to ignore on the periphery what people are going to see And I think, within the past week, John Mozeliak said, yeah, this is becoming a thing. This is becoming a topic. And if that first few weeks goes upside down, not just because of the record, but because of who those games are against, it's going to become the dominant topic, and he didn't want that to happen.
Derrick Goold with us on 101 ESPN. You can read his work at STLToday.com and in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And, oh, by the way, Derrick has a chat at STLToday.com coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Derrick.
Oh, thank you for the reminder. All right. Yeah.
I just saw it at STL Today, so I'm glad that you're aware of it now.
Yeah, no, I'm on special section brain, so thank you.
You got it. So a couple of years ago in July, the Cardinals drafted Victor Scott in the 5th round. And a lot of Cardinal fans now are looking at this spring and saying, man, I'd like to see him on opening day. What sort of an impression has he made on you? And do you think there's a chance that Scott could join the Cardinals in L.A.?
Oh, that's a great. I'm not sure about impression on me, more affirmation of what was expected. Going into this, I mean, he seemed like the player who was primed to do this spring what Mason Wynn did last spring, and play a lot, play often, play well, and accelerate his arrival in the majors, just as Mason Wynn did in spring training. Showed the major league staff and that level of competition that you get in the Grapefruit League, what he was capable of doing, and then channeled that into a strong AAA year that, of course, brought him up towards the end of the year and really, made them commit to him as their starting shortstop for this season. Victor Scott it was in position to do that. Now, injuries around him have opened up a far greater opportunity where he could break camp as the center fielder because of the skills he brings. There's a lot of ways that, they talk about changing the game, or Mike Schilt used to talk about how many different ways can this guy beat you in a game? Let's count the ways. Well, Victor Scott is that. He does a lot of things well. Obviously a superb defender, elite level speed, but he gets on base, and he doesn't have to steal a base to create a little havoc. And that is really something that when you watch, and I'm sure fans are seeing this, and you guys probably saw this too, that's probably something that stands out the most, is that he's not going out there to, and it takes him stealing second to get everybody's attention. It's just merely he's on first that has everybody's attention. And all of a sudden the shortstop, like Carlos Correa, rushes a throw and can't make it. The pitcher balks, and all of a sudden he's at third. It is really striking, and that translates to any level. What they do, we'll see. I mean, it's a real competition. There are a few spots on the roster that, because of injury, have been thrown for a jump ball. That's one of them. And, they'll have to make that call as to how long do they look at him. And, a factor here, guys, is the ballparks they play in to start the year. If you want to really emphasize defense, and Marmol says that's what they want to do, you got to imagine that the best defensive outfield that they could put out there for Dodger Stadium, Petco Park, Busch Stadium, and Arizona right off the hop. So some big land to cover. And then Oakland. So some big places to go cover is Dylan in left and Victor Scott in center.
And Derrick, even with what you said, you're 100% right that speed does put pressure on a defense. But in talking to Oli with Wynn, and if it is Victor Scott or Edman or whomever, the Cardinals didn't really take advantage last year for various reasons of the rules changes with the bases being closer together.
Yeah.
Are you inclined to think, or in talking to them, are they inclined perhaps to be a little bit more aggressive and push the envelope in terms of the stolen base?
Yes. Yeah, they want to. They need to. Mainly, they want to be ahead more often, or they want to be in closer games. So they would really like to win more games than last year. But in talking to Oli, he also wanted to change the mindset that was brought on by some of that, right? You can look at times when Tommy Edman didn't go first to third, but they were down by 3 or down by 4. And so you change your calculus on the risk of that. And that is held against them as base runners. When you do that, that's a minus 90 that you didn't take that you normally do. They went from being the team that went first to third the most and scored from went first to third the third most and scored from second on singles the most in the majors to not. They just were not. And Marmol called it a passive approach brought on by the the run deficits. They want to get past that for obvious reasons. They want to be in the lead more, or they want to be in close games more. But they also think that they left something on the table by not pushing it a little bit, by being more restrictor plate base running than Cardinal base running.
Derrick, I want to ask you too about the starting rotation and pitching staff in general. So I'll start with the starting rotation. How do you see things between Zach Thompson and Matthew Liberatore on their competition, and who will go where?
Really interesting, because they've done different things. I mean, you look at the line from Zach Thompson, and it's superb, right? I mean, he's not giving up many hits. He is getting swings and misses. That curveball that he's worked on, the two different styles of curveball really plays. His curveball and Andre Pallante's curveball are making hitters uncomfortable, but his velocity isn't consistent, and that's something that the Cardinals really want to see. Whereas on the other side, Liberatore's lines are a little bit more messy. They got bruised up a little bit. He got hit yesterday, rolled in the first inning, I believe, and but his velocity has been consistent, and his curveball is real, and to borrow the phrase from Oliver Marmol, it's a swing and miss pitch. He's not looking for the swing and miss pitch like Zach Thompson is. He has it. So I think it's still really kind of it's pretty close. A lot of it will depend on what their need is, right? Like there is an opening in the bullpen for a lefty that has been created here by some of the performance of other guys. Do they want that fire from Liberatore in a relief role and maybe the more consistent results from Thompson as a sixth starter or a sub for Sonny Gray? You can see it going that way. Or do they go, well, we got lightning in a bottle here, and he's shown that he can sustain the velocity as a starter. Do you see how that looks? And if it has better results from Liberatore, they could go either way. But it's been pretty close, and they've got to the same place in this competition through different routes.
Well, and speaking of the bullpen, and you're talking about jobs opening up, you have Keenan Middleton with the news that he has a forearm strain. So what does that mean for the bullpen plans?
Well, it means there's an opening for Fernandez. There's an opening for a larger role from Riley O'Brien. And there is a potential, late inning leverage spot for a guy who has really gone from, is he the one that is the odd man out and optioned out, or is he back where, back in the bullpen and maybe in a larger role? And that's Andre Pallante. If you got a chance to see him pitch yesterday, man, there were no comfortable swings against him. He has added this curveball this winter, and he's thrown it so successfully, and it has such a counterintuitive break to it that hitters don't know what to do. And he already had, and this is kind of lost in it, but he already had one of the most effective fastballs in baseball because of how unusual it was with its spin rate and just the deception of it. He was joking the other day that he's a right-hander who just is effectively throwing left-handed. That throws hitters off. And now he's got something else to show them. We'll see what kind of role they want to use him in, but you could see that being such a different look from Giovanni Gallegos and then Ryan Helsley that and it also, his curveball has a little bit, I want to try to articulate this right. Keenan Middleton's changeup is really different. It's not a Devin Williams changeup, but the way Keenan Middleton throws it, it just has a different depth than hitters are used to seeing on that changeup. It doesn't have the kind of the wide swing or the almost screwball nature that Devin Williams changeup has, but it does have great depth. In the same vein of a pitch that hitters are not used to seeing, that's what Pallante has started to develop here and show. So you can see how he would fit that role.
Derrick Goold, great information as always, and we get it daily from you and the Post-Dispatch baseball staff at STLToday.com and in the Post-Dispatch, and we will keep an eye out for that special section on Sunday. Thanks as always for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great week.
You too. Thanks. That is Derrick Goold, and he is he's as tied in as anybody. Interesting note about Pallante there.
Very interesting note. I feel like I haven't paid attention enough to see what Pallante has been doing during this spring training. Also, it's been hard to watch some of the games, so that's another thing to note about some of the spring training stuff. But that's interesting from Pallante. I guess we'll see.
Hopefully it works.
I just don't want to see what I saw last year, Randy.
Me either. Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset for you here on 101 ESPN. Getting ready for another St. Louis City SC home game on Saturday. And Together Credit Union, City SC's official banking partner, is offering you a safe and reliable way to grow your hard-earned money. Let's start with this. You get a debit card from Together Credit Union, and you get especially great access to St. Louis City SC. You get 10% off of their team store. You get a special entrance to get in easier. So if you get that debit card from Together Credit Union, it's awesome. But they also have certificates of deposits, or CD, that are attractive investments for new and experienced investors because the return on your investment is fixed and guaranteed. And right now, Together Credit Union is offering two fantastic CD promotions. Your first CD rate option is an 11-month CD term with a 5.40 annual percentage yield. Your second CD rate option is a 19-month CD term with a 5.00 annual percentage yield. Both options require a minimum balance of $1,000. To get your CD, go to your nearest Together Credit Union branch or visit togethercu.org today to learn more. Early withdrawal penalties apply and may reduce earnings on account. Rate offers are accurate as of January 18th, respectively. Rates are subject to change without notice. Other rates and terms are available. Membership eligibility required. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Recapping the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
9:08 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler, and the bracket is set. Get signed up to play in this year's Bracket Madness Pick'em Challenge. Register to participate at 101ESPN.com. It's free to enter, and this year's top scorer will take home a $250 Amazon gift card and a 101 ESPN prize pack. See the contest rules and get signed up to play in Bracket Madness now at 101ESPN.com. Brought to you by Bud Light and Twin Peaks. The Blues were winners last night over the Ducks 4-2. A couple of goals for our buddy Bobby Tommy. And the Blues are 4 points out of the second wild card spot in the Western Conference. They take on the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night, 6 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. The action coming your way at 7. And Jake Neighbors having another solid game for the Blues, too.
Nabes. I want to call him Nabes, but remember Jeremy Rutherford, who is a fantastic reporter, as we know, and friend of the show over at The Athletic. He did some digging, and he actually got from Jake Neighbors what nickname he goes by. Apparently, outside of St. Louis, he would go by Nabes, but here in St. Louis, the team calls him Jakey.
And I like Nabes better. I just think that we need to make a change here.
It didn't work for Robert Thomas when we tried that. Even though you still do the Robbie Tommy, I think that he would prefer if we just called him Robert Thomas.
I think
or
so.
Tomer, I guess is what they call him.
See, and Nabes is a hockey name.
Nabes, I like Nabes.
I like it better than Jakey.
It fits him. Jakey.
Yeah.
Because then you could say Shaky Bakey, which he's not. But you could say Shaky and Bakey.
Shaky Jakey? Shaky Bakey Jakey?
Shaky Jakey Bakey?
Yeah, that could. Well, no. Let's just call him Nabes.
Nabes.
He's not shaky at all.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm thinking of Talladega Nights like Shake and Bake, like doing a little play on that.
Oh, that's a good play.
There you go.
So, but that Robert would have to be Bake.
Yes.
Jake and Bake.
Yes.
Jacob. Okay, we got it.
We're working on this.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. We're a nickname factory, and we always workshop these things. But Jake Neighbors, when we were talking with Kerbs earlier, he talked about the net front presence, and that's, to me, that is Jake Neighbors' game currently. That's his identity right now. I think another player, possibly a good comp, and I was listening to the KerbSide podcast earlier that they brought up that Joey did. Jamie Ben's known for being that. I know that there is a size difference there, but still, I feel like this could become Jake Neighbors' identity as being that net front presence player. But not only that, if you looked at that Kevin Hayes goal, where was he?
Mm-hmm. He was in front of the net.
Exactly. So it seems like for whatever reason, I don't doubt, because Craig Berube would say the same thing to him all the time. He liked having the net front presence there. Right now, they're buying into it with Drew Bannister, and it's working.
Yeah. Yesterday down in Florida, the Cardinals knocked off the Astros by a score of 10-6 in the 8th inning. The whammer, Lucan Baker, with a 2-run homer. And then somebody named Brody Moore hit a grand slam.
Who is that?
I don't know.
I was so confused when I saw that. I was like, who is this person that hit a grand slam for the Cardinals?
He scored Mike Ciani, former Raiders receiver.
No?
Oh.
Different?
I think it's a different guy. Wasn't the Ciani with the Raiders spelled with a C?
I don't think so.
Wasn't it also an S?
Yeah.
I think it's a different guy, though, either way.
Mike Ciani. Rivas and Mendoza were also on base for that grand slam by Brody Moore.
Who is this person? Okay, I'm looking him up right now.
Brody.
More of Brody. How about that?
Oh, there we go.
He played at Auburn, born in the year 2000, which feels illegal. It's hard. Randy, I'm trying to grasp aging currently, and when I see a player born in 2000, it freaks me out.
Oh, the worst is when you walk into a convenience store and see the date that people can drink today.
I know. You're like, wait a minute, what?
What's
are you
happening
sure?
here?
They're a baby. Why are you giving alcohol to a baby?
Exactly right. We also learned that Miles Michaelis will start the Cardinal season opener a week from Thursday at L.A. against the Doyers, and Tyler Glasnow will go for L.A., and they start their season in Korea, South, later this week.
I don't know if you need to clarify that. It would be bigger news if it was in North Korea, honestly. Yeah. That would be groundbreaking, to say the least.
And Scotty Scheffler wins the Players' Championship down in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, by 1 stroke over 3 golfers who had all won majors or are really, really good. And we had some good golf over the weekend, and hopefully as we approach the Masters, it will get better and better. Tonight, we've got basketball here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 8:30 for the Warriors and the Knicks. Warriors are quietly having a really good season, and with Tom Thibodeau as their coach, I don't know if they're going to beat Boston in the East, but they could upset and upend people in the East. And the Warriors, You just never know. All right, there you have it. That is your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the Cardinals did sign Oli Marmol to a contract extension on Friday, and we want to get your take. You can send us a mic drop with the 101 ESPN app, or you can send us a text. And that text number, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. We want to hear from you about your opinion of the Oli Marmol extension next on 101 ESPN. Chesterfield Fence and Deck is celebrating 56 years in business in the St. Louis area. And if you are in business for 56 years, you're doing everything right. And they have since 1968 over at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. And they started as a fence company, and then they added decks, and then they decided to add other things like sunrooms and screen rooms and pergolas. And right now you can get a great wood or vinyl fence, or a great wood or cedar deck, or Vecca deck from my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Now, the vinyl Vecca deck is beautiful, and they have another beautiful color, espresso, and it's great. But this year they have pewter, and it's a gorgeous gray color that has beautiful variations throughout for a more natural look for your deck. So when you go to Chesterfield Fence and Deck in Chesterfield Valley, or up on their website, chesterfieldfence.com, check out their pewter vinyl decking. And they'll come out, they'll provide you a free, no-obligation project design. They'll allow you to see pictures of jobs that they've done. And I can tell you this from firsthand experience, when you get it done from Chesterfield Fence and Deck, it's going to be done right. Find them on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. Give them a call, 800-300-4054. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best. We appreciate you weighing into the show with the Mic Drop feature. Here is David with his reaction to the Oli Marmol extension here on 101 ESPN.
First of all, I don't care that they signed him. It's the way they've gone about this that just makes me scratch my head once again. You know, why in the world wait until spring training to extend him? If they were worried about this becoming some type of controversy, then why not sign him in November or October and just set it to rest and not let a fan base get all worked up for the entire off season?
First of all, David, great name.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to point that out. And I am 100% in agreement with David here. And this is what I've been pointing out. When did the season end? It ended a while ago. And so you knew going into the season. I understand what Derrick Goold was talking about. I 100% agree. They knew it wasn't a surprise what the schedule was going to be to start out. Now, of course, you didn't know that these injuries would happen, but Randy, it's baseball. Injuries always happen, especially early on the season, during spring training. It seems like it's inevitable. So it doesn't feel like it's that big of a surprise that you knew all this stuff was coming up, including the schedule. That is the biggest part. The schedule, they knew it was going to be tough, regardless of if their team was healthy or not. And so it's the timing that is just really throwing me off on this, because you had an entire offseason to really go ahead and figure out this contract extension, and you wait until almost spring training's done to go into the year?
Yeah, and Oli didn't know about it. He expected to be a lame duck manager until he went into Mo's office on Thursday.
And he handled it well.
Yeah, he was ready for it.
He's handled it well.
Yeah. Let's get one from Terry here on 101 ESPN.
Why shouldn't Oli get a new contract? The Cardinals are a process-driven team, not a result-driven team. Oli has carried out the process flawlessly, and then he faces the media to answer their questions. What more do the Cardinals want? That's it.
That hits the nail right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a great point.
One of the issues that I have with baseball and with the Cardinals specifically is that they aren't as results-oriented as they used to be, and they are process-oriented, and he's all about the process, buys in, and explains as much as he can why they do what they do to the media. So sending Jordan Walker down last year, we want better launch angle. Sending Jake Westbrook down a couple of years ago, we don't like the way his slider looks. They are about the process rather than the results, and that's a great point. He carries out what they want as well as anybody could.
Yeah, and I think that is why it makes a lot of sense, honestly. They are process-oriented. I just think that process could have waited until maybe they were possibly playoff contenders, and so that you would feel a little bit better. They are fully aware, and Mozeliak said as much, of how the fans would react to this, considering that they waited all the offseason to make this move to sign him to a contract extension. I found it interesting, too, that Mozeliak pointed out, and I believe it was in Katie Wu's article in The Athletic, where he was just observing spring training, and he felt like the players are really behind him. And that is something that is important to point out, is that I do understand that he does have the support of the players and the clubhouse, but still, at the end of the day, this is a winning business. You have to win. That's the process that should matter the most. And so that's why I think it just could have waited. You already waited all this time. Why not wait till towards the end of the season, where if they did make the playoffs, playoff contenders, wouldn't that silence the crowd a little bit more?
Yeah. But Brooke, for them, is it really a winning business? Mike Matheny never had a losing season. Mike Schilt never had a losing season, and they got whacked. And this guy has a 91-loss season and doesn't. So maybe it's not about winning as much as it is about the process.
That's why the optics just seem very confusing to me.
Yeah. Let's get a mic drop from Carl.
What do I think of the Oli Marmol extension? I'm rooting for the San Diego Padres.
With Mike Schilt.
He is there, isn't he?
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting first series that the Cardinals play against them in San Diego. We've got a couple of texts. This one from the 314. The biggest question entering the season for the Cardinals is, why should fans care enough to show up to go to the games? By signing Oli, the Cardinals admit that they're fine with a slow start. They're going to manipulate service time for the third straight prospect, and did just barely enough to say they did something for the offseason. Well, number one, I don't know how it's going to go. Am I confident that they're going to be great? No. But I can tell you this, in 1985, Whitey Herzog was regarded by many national media members as the first manager to be fired, and the Cardinals wound up winning 101 games. This team does have some players. They aren't going to manipulate Mason Wynn with service time. They already brought him up, and he's going to pass rookie status with his first couple of at-bats this year. So I don't know about manipulating from that perspective. And here's the thing, Oli, whether you gave him an extension or not, you weren't going to fire him before the end of spring training. So when you write, by signing Oli, the Cardinals admit that they're fine with another slow start, well, it was going to be the same whether he signed a contract extension or not. They weren't going to fire him before spring training, and they weren't going to avoid any potential slow starts by getting rid of him before
and that's
the end.
I completely agree with that. But my whole thought process is, okay, you already knew what it was going the season, the schedule, and that there would be injuries that would pop up and that you would have to fight through the adversity. I wanted to see how he handled that adversity through this season, because obviously he had a 93-win season in his rookie year as a manager, sophomore year, 91-loss season. Now let's see how he handles the adversity. And he seemed to be handling it really well. He understood that this was a prove-it year for him, and not that that will completely go away, because that's important to note, is just because he signed a contract extension doesn't mean that all the pressure is completely off of him. But I think that they're hoping that this would somewhat silence the crowd of noise of when they get off or possibly get off to a bad start, that people would be like, okay, bring in Yachty now, bring in Yachty, who hasn't made it to spring training yet.
I saved this text from the 7 o'clock hour. How do I feel? Since I heard the announcement last Friday, I've unfollowed the Cardinals, deleted my MLB app, and started to look at Blues, Battlehawks, and City SC tickets. Frankly, I'm pissed.
Wow.
You are.
That is, and that's the thing, is that if you are that upset, that is the only way to get your message through to the organization, honestly, is butts in the seats. And that's the big difference.
Brooke, here's the way I'm looking at this. And this might be naive, but the Cardinals in 2017 started that season with Mike Matheny under contract for 17, 18, 19, and 20. The Cardinals start the 24 season with Oli Marmol under contract for 24, 25, 26. If they're bad at the All-Star break and they deem that they need a change in leadership to be better, they'll make that move. It doesn't matter whether they gave him an extension or not.
Yes.
This is not going to allow him to have more bad seasons or even half seasons if the team performs poorly. And by the way, if they get healthy and they're still performing poorly, if they aren't doing what Bill DeWitt Jr. expects, I don't think he has any qualms about firing a manager. He's wasted a lot of money in the past on baseball things. So paying Oli Marmol for 2.5 years to not manage wouldn't be any big deal.
Well, and also I think that you have to be careful, too, about this process, because the organization does have to move forward. And somebody asked this question, too, on the text line from 3 and 4. Does this also mean that Mozeliak would be sticking around longer? He is supposed to be handing over the reins. To who is the big question. But I don't think that this means that he will also extend his time, because he seems to be pretty clear that this will be his final year in this position.
Right. Well, 25. He signed through 25, so he's got 2 years left.
Yes.
But I agree with you. But I wonder if Bill DeWitt says, I want to make a managerial change. I wonder if Mo says, if he's that tied to Oli, that he says, okay, well, you'll have to get rid of me too. I don't know, but it could be a possibility.
It could be.
Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, our friend Kelly Chase is going to join us in studio. The Blues have a big puck cancer event coming up. We're going to talk about that and more with Chaser next on 101 ESPN. I made my way over to the Fenton Barn Grill for lunch on Friday, and it was absolutely delicious. And don't forget, on Fridays, they have great fish specials. I had the salmon and the clam chowder over there on Friday, and it was fantastic. Every day, they have a wonderful lunch special. You'll love the food at the Fenton Barn Grill, but you're also going to love the people. Stop by and say hi to Megan and Kelly and Casey and the gang today, and they will treat you well, and the food you'll have is spectacular. And what I love about the Fenton Barn Grill is we're going to be talking sports with other people. A guy named Ted that listens to the show was over there on Friday and enjoyed Fenton Barn Grill. But when you stop by, they're going to have sports up on the TVs. You can talk sports, have a great time. You'll enjoy the people, and you will enjoy the ambiance. And whether it's lunch today, maybe a happy hour, maybe you want to go watch the Blues game tomorrow night, whatever you want to watch, you'll be able to at the Fenton Barn Grill. There are great people. Chuck Nash is the manager over there. You'll love him, and you'll just have a great time. It's the Fenton Barn Grill. Learn more at FentonBarnGrill.com. When you go, tell them Randy sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. St. Louis City with another draw over the weekend, facing off against the LA Galaxy. They now sit fourth in the West with 6 points from a draw and 1 win and 3 draws. Also over the weekend, the Blues get 2 big wins. Saturday, 3-2 over the Minnesota Wild, and Sunday, a big 4-2 win over the Ducks. They'll be off tonight before they face off against the Avs down at Enterprise Center on Tuesday night. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Randy Carricker. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN, and coming up on April 5th at 7 o'clock at the Centene Community Ice Center, the Blues are going to stage a puck cancer event, and a lot of big stars are going to be there. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster, and here to talk about that and more, former Blue and a couple of our favorites, 2 former Blues and a couple of our favorites, Kelly Chase and Barret Jackman. Chaser, good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be seen.
And you're dealing with leukemia, going through chemo right now. And as we talk today, I ask you how you feel. You feel like crap, right?
Well, I know I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. You feel like that when you, it's all relevant. relative, you just kind of, you get to a point where after the chemo, you're feeling like you're a little sluggish, and then you rebound and get your act together, and you just got to look at it like tomorrow's going to be a better day and get moving.
We appreciate your toughness, and we've got a lot to cover here. Jack's good to see you.
It's great to see you.
And it's amazing, isn't it? And the Blues do such a wonderful job with Hockey Fights Cancer. The whole league does. But it's amazing how everybody is affected by cancer somehow.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's so many guys, especially in the league, that are battling. Alumni that are battling different forms of cancer and just different battles. But it really hit home when Chaser gave me that call, and then going in and seeing him in the hospital. I haven't really had many people this close to me affected the way that he has. But he's a huge inspiration, and just to see him just battling ups and downs and visit him in the hospital, and then you see him here today running through a couple hours of media to promote and raise money and use the platform and use what he's going through to raise money and galvanize and get so many great people together to raise money for Siteman Cancer and just get the get the word out and get the community behind what he's trying to battle.
You've been so open about your journey and letting everybody in on this process and everything you're going through. And I've also seen you out at the games. What has it been like to have the fans support you?
It's been awesome. Like, obviously, it's so nice to see the support. I think the first time I went to the game,
the day you got out of the hospital.
Yeah, the day I got out of the hospital. Caruso and Gretzky bullied me into that game. I didn't really want to go. I wasn't really ready to go and see the fans because I knew that I knew I was sick, and I also knew that I didn't look like I was believable that I was going to get healthy. So I think going to the game, while it probably helped, people go, okay, he's back or whatever. But there was a lot of people that walked into me at that game that just didn't talk. They just started crying. And the reason was, and I got home and I was, actually I was with Twister and Ray Lynn, my wife, and I said, man, these poor people are scared. And she said, what are you talking about? They're not scared of you. And I'm like, no, they're scared. And she said, they're not, like I could see when they hug you, they're crying, and they didn't talk. And I said, well, they're not scared of me. They're scared for me. Mm-hmm. They look at this guy that's supposed to be a tough guy, and, he's lost all this weight, and he doesn't look like himself, and we didn't recognize him. And she's like, they're not scared. And Twister said, yeah, they're scared. They're scared for him. But I said, listen, I made a living my whole life out of knowing when people are scared, and they're scared. So it was one of those things where, I could tell for the first time just how sick I was when that first round was over. So, yeah, I mean, it was great to be there, great to say hi to the people and thank you, but it was probably, and then Trevor had the camera on me too long. I was trying to hold my emotions as long as I could. He said, Trevor, get that camera out of my face. And pretty soon I was swearing at him, under my breath, and he got the camera out away from me.
So you retweeted this weekend that Garth Brooks is coming in.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
This is the Puck Cancer event. The first thing I wanted to ask you is Coach Brett Hull. That is going to be interesting in and of itself.
The best part about the Coach Brett Hull is, well, Shanahan says he's coming, so we're going to have Brendan on the bench with Brett. But the best part about it is Quenville will be on there too. So if we're gonna listen to Holly's bitching and Joel laughing, and Shanny making jokes about it. And then on the other bench, it's Coach Payton who wants to play in the game. So he's taking 10. He's going to cram 10 skating lessons into thinking he can play in this game. And so he'll be on the bench coaching. And then it'll be Granato and Garth will be the other coaches.
That'll be fantastic.
No, it's going to be great. There's so many guys coming in, and I think the players are nervous to play in the game, but are excited to get in the locker room and just be around, such an amazing group of guys. And it's been a long time since I've been in that atmosphere, drinking beers and telling stories in the locker room. So it's going to be awesome for the players, but the fans are going to get, a pretty good show with Dirk Bentley and, play some songs, Craig Niehaus, NHL alumni and a great performer is going to be playing as well. So it's going to be, and then we got bagpipers coming in. Glenn Healy is going to be, out there playing the bagpipes. So
wow,
it's going to be a great show, and hopefully, the fans are entertained, and I guarantee they will be.
And tickets are available again through Ticketmaster. It's going to be April 5th at 7 o'clock at Centene. All proceeds from the event go towards cancer research through the Jimmy V Foundation for the Siteman Cancer Center. And the rosters are going to be incredible. How did we wind up with Sean Payton coaching one of these teams?
He's my neighbor up at Gaza Ranch, where we spend our summers in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So we golf every day, and he's just become a good friend of mine. So I actually went to... I played a prank on him, a little bit of a prank to turn into it won't go away. The prank that won't go away in Gaza, and then he set me up. He basically he had me speak at the Broncos camp this year, and he said, "Don't worry about it. It's just like 7 minutes or something." And he goes, "And we're gonna this the whole speech is going to be about." This thing that I do when I do these speaking engagements is being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And he sent me up on stage and played a 40-second figure skating video of me at Battle of the Blades when I did that figure skating show. So I walked out on stage. All this, there's an NFL team sitting in the stadium seating, upper seating, and I'm down in the room. On the stage, and I started laughing. I said, "Why?" And I looked over at him. He had this big grin on his face. So I tried to wheel my way out of that a little bit with these football players and try and get some credibility. But he's been a good friend, and we're actually flying to Saskatoon on May 2nd, I think. We're going up there. He speaks at the Saskatchewan Huskies. I got him to speak at the football game. Football teams. It's called the Dog's Breakfast. The Huskies, it's the Dog's Breakfast, and he's going to be their guest speaker. So he obviously took a huge discount to go to Saskatoon, but they are going to send a plane. I'm going to fly with him from Colorado to Saskatoon, so he's doesn't get inundated with too many of my relatives, and he's going to speak in Canada for the Saskatchewan Huskies football team.
Can't wait to hear the payback story of this
one. I will be doing something outrageous for the Broncos. I know it. I'll be wearing the mascot one game or something. I don't know.
So, Chaser, it's got to be heartwarming. You told the story about running into fans. You already knew how beloved you are in this community, and you've shown for years how much you love the community. But what's it been like with this particular situation, the love that St. Louis, not just St. Louis, but the sports world and the world in general has shown you?
Yeah, it's been pretty unique because we have a unique brotherhood of hockey players. There's just very few guys that have played, of the millions and millions that have played hockey, that have ever played in the NHL, and it's just the outpouring from that alone. Never mind the city of St. Louis. Because I've said since I got traded back here, I've always understood how much I liked it here. I didn't understand how much the people appreciated the effort until I got traded back, right? If I could bottle that feeling when I skated out on the ice for opening night, people would feel great, because that's the $1 billion formula right there, of feeling good, of how I was treated. So I was treated unbelievable here. But it puts it in perspective, I think, for my entire family. When, we're lucky. We have a place we have a place in Arizona, and a beautiful place there, and a beautiful place in Idaho. And so St. Louis is kind of our home, always been our home, but it's kind of like a stop grounds for us, not because the boys are all playing hockey or going to college playing hockey, and and not here. And they come home in the spring. So you can kind of travel around and bounce around and watch them play and have these great spots. But St. Louis is so easy. Like, I get into the hospital. I'm within an hour and a half, I know I have leukemia. With what was going to be 9 days, I was going to start my chemo. It ended up being a day and a half because I got sick. You need a plumber, I got a guy. You need a car guy, I got a guy. You need an electrician, I got a guy. Everybody's one guy away from, there's 1 degree of separation in St. Louis, and it makes it easy to live here. So no matter what city you go to, whether you enjoy the weather or the atmosphere in the summer, or the family time, whatever it is, there's no city that's better for you to live in that makes it more convenient for you as an ex-athlete than St. Louis. So for me, it was I don't want to say, it was surprising to see there was that many people. I mean, there was times where people would send me something and I would think someone was playing a prank on me. Like I was an asshole to that guy. There's no way that guy is texting me right now, on the ice. And then I'd talk to him and he'd say, well, you're probably not going to get one from my winger, but that was nice of you to send me something.
Of course, with 2 hockey greats in this room right now, I have to ask you guys about the current Blues team. 4 straight wins, especially with the 2 back-to-backs this weekend. Chaser, I'll start with you. What do you think about this group right now?
I think the consistency has to stay within the group, and they have to find, they have to just get it in their head that they're going to be a spoiler. And that's how they have to approach it. Because you gotta play like you care every night, and then if somebody beats you out now, well, you still had a pretty successful season as far as what you've accomplished. But if you can go on an 11-4 run and come from behind and knock some teams around, that's when you're going to go into the playoffs with a hot goalie and have a chance to make some noise and be a spoiler.
Yeah, they have to be comfortable in tight games. They got to be satisfied with winning 1-0, 2-1, and having that team buy-in of defense. And they've been period to period a different team, and they got to find a way to just be consistent. And like Chaser said, you never know. You get a goaltender that's playing amazing right now. If you guys have some guys that could get on a hot streak, score some goals, score some big goals, and find ways to win late in games. And you never know. It's been done before, and they could do it again and make some waves and get some experience for a lot of these exciting young guys that are coming through the pipeline.
One thing that you two have in common, and your era had in common, and Chase, I remember one time, I don't know if it was after a loss or after a bad practice, but you slammed something against your locker, and there was a mark next to your locker for a long, long time. Remember that? And
I remember.
Randy never forgets anything, does he?
But you guys hate losing, and that's one thing I don't. And it's not just hockey players. Generationally, I don't see as many people that hate losing, and I think that's the key to winning.
Well, if you remember correctly, it was above Brett Hull's stall. It wasn't above my stall, so that might indicate where that was going. Oh God!
What'd you do?
I don't know. I think I was trying to break my stick over his stall, and I was sheetrock hanging down a little too low when I caught it. It was just a matter of look at. If you sit there as a fourth line player, and this is back when a fourth line player mattered. If someone walked in a room as a fourth line player and said something to a first line player, and they would just disregard them. They don't control the room like they did, because now I believe they're their own LLC. Each player is, and they just it's just a business transaction. I think a lot of times, which is too bad. But if you went ahead and said something, okay. Everybody listened, but if you were to hold the older guys accountable that were really good players, and they were accountable or nervous about what you might do, you couldn't get away with it very often. There was a big deal made of that because of the room, the way it was smashed, but it wasn't just the roof, but it was also. But there was a few guys that were like our top players that weren't playing like they should have played, and it wasn't just Brett. And if you want to win games, you got to keep running those guys out there. When if you keep running him out there, well, it's less time that I'm going to get out there. And I, at that point, felt I'd had enough of that not being the right way, the right message. And so, in my mind, whether it was right or wrong, it was a message for both the top players and the coaches. Like, if you don't change something, and if you don't start holding guys accountable and start putting some guys out there that care, and not that they didn't care, that just, and who knows what was happening at home or whatever. But when you're young, you don't care what's going on at their house. Like, you just want to win. And I had one of those days, and everything kind of came together at the same time. And I owed the, I don't know what was it called then, Scott Trade people. I owed them a little bit of money, I think, for damages to the locker room.
But you know what? And I don't think we've ever even talked about this, but that's what I've always said, is that you have the ability to hold people in the room accountable. And I see teams where maybe guys have the ability, but they don't take advantage of their ability. And just that mark above the locker was something that reminded everybody, hey, there is somebody that's pissed off here about losing.
Well, I think there was a lot of guys that work in that situation. But a lot of guys are just, it's not their character to do that. And, you put up with it long enough, and then anybody can do it. It's just a matter of, where your timeline is. So, I don't know. I probably fought a couple times. It felt like, if I fought in a game where I felt like it was a meaningless fight, and when I say meaningless, I never fought for just a fight. Mm-hmm. I didn't fight to entertain the crowd. I fought because there was a reason to fight. You were either doing something to my teammate, or I was making a point to your team. I never fought just because I thought, oh, this will be fun, or this is, I just, or I don't like the guy or whatever. There's lots of guys I didn't like. I didn't fight. But I think sometimes when you fight because a guy got run at who's playing halftime, when I say halftime, half-assed, like they're not trying, you just end up, you fight him because and you want to say to the guy, like, you've come through the middle 3 times, he's hit you, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you come around the net, you don't make the play you're supposed to make, you hold on to it too long, you try and cut through again, and you get hit. And now I'm going to go clean up your mess because you're stupid. Like, you're not paying attention. And then you're playing like you care more about what the score of the football game is on Sunday than today's game. That would bother me. And I'm thinking that in my head. I'm not saying it out loud. But when that happened, when you got to a point of, hey, I've fought enough times to know that I can say this, I'd say it.
And accountability is a huge thing, Jax, isn't it?
Yeah, leadership is, there's a couple different kinds of leaders. There's leaders that, go out there and they lead by example, but there's the leaders that go above and beyond that, play with the leadership. They also, take those uncomfortable situations, will stand up, and it's not easy. It's a burden that it wears on you, and it's tough. But if you can come in there and you show the emotion that Chaser has, that's not easy doing that every day. And if I think Schenner does a great job, but you can't be doing it alone. You have to have multiple guys in the locker room that will back you up. Will take that same message and build on it, and then you need the guys that you can draw into the fight. And so leadership is a huge part of every team and every winning team. And but yeah, you have to be, as a good leader, you have to be uncomfortable to have guys question you, but still follow you. And that's Chaser's always done that. He's had Twister with him to do that. Shanny was always that guy, and we just need more guys in the game that care about the team more than the individuals.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if you didn't care about entertaining the crowd. I was entertained when you did fight Twister.
If he'd have stayed in his jersey, he'd have lost. He didn't like that tie-down rule. When he was laying on the ice and his tie-down was off, he was like, oh, now I'm mad. When he got up, you're like, ooh.
Man. We've got such a crew coming in for April 5th. Ed Belfour, Chris Chelios is going to be here, Ryan Malone, Dave Coulier is going to be here, D.B. Sweeney, the actor, Brendan Shanahan, as we mentioned, Brendan Morrow, the new Hall of Famer, Pierre Turgeon will be here, Jammer, and some of our local guys, Cam Jansen, Andy McDonald, Jax is going to be there. You have to play for Brett Hull, huh?
Yeah, and I've got to know him over the last 20 years to, be able to, take what he says with a grain of salt, but I'm sure he'll be all over me about the curve of my stick and, how I pass and can't score. So I've been used to it over the last few years.
It's going to be a great night. It's at Centene, April 5th at 7 o'clock, and you can get tickets at Ticketmaster. And by the way, there are VIP opportunities for you as well. And there's also going to be a fantastic auction that you can join by going to blues.givesmart.com and take advantage of providing this money, these finances to benefit the Jimmy V Foundation and the Kais Siteman Cancer Center. Chaser, we're all praying for you. We're all on your side. And
I'll take the prayers.
I texted right when I found out, and you said, hey, I fought a lot of things in my life, and this is just another one, right?
It's just another fight. Yep. There's a saying that God gives his hardest task to his toughest soldiers. So, look, it's just a process, and I think I got a great doctor. I've been fortunate with the treatments. It wears on you. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of your strength and a lot of your muscle out of you. But I feel like I'm turning a corner here, and one more round of chemo. And then next year when I'm sitting in here, it'll just be a story. It'll just be something that's behind us, and we'll have taken care of it.
All right. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we're looking forward to the great Puck Cancer Night on April 5th at Centene, and you can get more information at stlouisblues.com. Jax, good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me in.
You bet. And thanks to the Blues for bringing these guys into the studio, Dan O'Neill from the Blues PR staff. And we thank you for tuning in today and texting in and being a part of the show. For Matthew Rocchio and Brooke, I'm Randy. And until tomorrow at 7, have a great Monday, St. Louis.
That's right.